as Monocle is second. Good job.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century.
The box is full of Pepe!
Jesus, I say that.
Equal parts. Oh my gosh. Could you drum up? Thanks, Jeff, for the question.
Right now.
having that thought.
Consequences.
I made a huge tiny mistake.
Phrasing?
It's a great day for being sick.
So hot right now.
Follow the replay.
Well, here we are once again. Good to see all you folks. As usual, this journey will require you to buckle your seatbelt as safety is of the utmost. Prepare yourselves, chat. It's about time for us to take a journey through the unknown. Well, we've got a whole lot to cover here today. Although not as much as some nights. Seems like we're dominated by a lot of similar stories. So try to navigate around that as best as possible. Filling out applications is stressful. It's very true. Well, I guess we will start in the same place as usual. The United States. And, as is often required, we must take a look at the gun culture in which we live. Okay, what is that? It's a 19 and a 12. Somehow we have 2 support characters already. That's more than 1 support character for every 10 minutes this stream has been going. Truly impressive. Truly impressive stuff. Well, let's start with this troubling statistic from ABC News 14 hours ago. Violence plagues July 4th weekend as at least 100 people were shot in Chicago.
This morning, the search for answers after a violent and deadly holiday weekend in Chicago. At least 100 people were shot, with 3 mass shootings reported. In all, 17 people were killed. Among them, Capri Edwards and her aunt Nikisha Strong killed when police say armed men targeted Strong's home on the south side.
It appears that this started from some type of personal dispute.
Police say Edwards died protecting her 1-year-old son. 2 of her other kids were shot. Strong's son was also killed.
I would never in my life in a million years would think that I would see my mom laying down the way she was.
This year, even worse than last July 4th, which saw 73 people shot and 11 lives lost. Locals say gangs are to blame, but they aren't the same as they used to be. Now they're running in smaller, more violent groups. One local neighborhood watch member saying a gang can be a block of people.
I mean, I guess we could blame people for this, but I'm more apt to blame just the excessive, like, just lax sort of gun laws that we have in this country. You know, that's just me. Alright, so we got George Carlin and Worf from the newest iteration of Star Trek. I can't remember I think it's called Picard. I think it's a next gen reboot almost, kinda. Let's talk about gun laws real quick, because I saw this story and was absolutely just blown away. Just blown away. Let's look at this, where we are literally giving out ammunition like candy. Here's ABC News 12 hours ago. Vending machines selling ammo in grocery stores.
Get rid of the Second Amendment.
This morning, a controversial vending machine company is in the line of fire. A grocery store in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is the first to remove a kiosk that sells ammunition, as the city council considered the vending machine's legality.
I got some calls about ammunition being sold in grocery stores.
Vending machines.
The vending machines, is that, I mean, I thought it was a lot. I thought it was a joke.
The vending machine is made by American Rounds, which says it...
It is funny to hear a man with that accent say, I thought it was a joke, to a story like this. Because, you know, no, sir, this is, in fact, the world we live in right now, where we're literally giving guns out like candy.
There's artificial intelligence and facial recognition technology to match buyers of the ammo with their ID cards. The company says the novel way of selling ammo for shotguns, pistols, and rifles will reduce theft and increase safety. Writing on...
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Somehow making them as accessible as a bag of chips is making it safer. Okay. Okay, if you say so. Good God. For those times when you just can't wait for more ammo. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because why would... Oh my, it just seems like such an obvious thing that should never have existed. That nobody should have ever said, this is the plan, this is the right choice. But no, got all the way to it being in stores and people asking the question now in post, was it a good idea? Now, I'll tell you my answer, no. No, it wasn't. Okay, now let's move on to talking a little bit about politics here. First, let's discuss the state of the election. This is from CBS News from 10 hours ago. Congress and Biden at odds over his re-election run.
Lawmakers are back on Capitol Hill today after a holiday recess, but right before they left, Texas Republican Chip Roy introduced a resolution calling on Vice President Kamala Harris to invoke the 25th Amendment. Let's bring in Nicole Killian for us. She's on the Hill and can speak to us more about this. Nicole, we just heard Nancy say that, look, there's no sustained, coordinated effort to have Biden removed as a Democratic presidential nominee. But remind us what invoking the 25th Amendment would do and what that process looks like.
Yeah, well, first, before we get to that, I do want to let you know that we have some new developments, and that is a letter that President Biden has sent to congressional Democrats as lawmakers prepare to return here to Capitol Hill this week. In essence, he says that he is not getting out of this race. He says that...
Yeah, no. It doesn't feel good. No, yeah, B-Cat's right. Sleep paralysis demon Chip Roy. No, it doesn't feel good to be on the same side as Chip Roy in anything. It makes you second guess practically every element of being on that side of any argument that involves Chip Roy, undoubtedly.
You know, he has been saying clearly and unequivocally that he would not be running.
Imagine being in the boardroom when this was suggested. Yeah. I don't think that I would be allowed in that boardroom in particular, but I think in most boardrooms they'd be like, why is this guy here saying we should give all of our stock to the workers instead of to the billionaires? Is that legal? And I'd say, who cares?
Again, if he did not absolutely believe that he was the best person to beat Donald Trump this year, he also goes on to say that the question of how to move forward has been well aired for over a week now, and it is time for it to end. So the president really trying to quell some of these criticisms that have been emerging since his debate performance last month in Atlanta. Now, to turn to your question about the 25th Amendment, that is also something that the White House continues to swat down. You know, and I would say that, you know, as you mentioned, this is a proposal coming from Texas Republican Chip Roy. So this is not.
I think the fact that Chip Roy is leading this makes it harder for Democrats to actually follow along with that plan. Because the fact is I'm not entirely against that plan. But you know what? Hey, maybe, what is it? Like 1 in every 10,000 times? What do you call it? Bipartisanship could be good. I don't know. Whenever somebody says bipartisanship to me, I cringe. I recoil in disgust. I'm like, what word did you just say to me? Bipartisanship? Unacceptable. that has to be bad. Whatever preceded, it has to be bad. But maybe one of those fringe cases where I'm like, oh geez, maybe we should work together. Oh god. No. All right, let's move on. Let's talk more about this supposed letter of Joe Biden's.
President Joe Biden is standing firm against calls for him to end his candidacy. In a letter to congressional Democrats, he called for an end to what he called the intra-party drama since his debate. Biden wrote in a 2-page letter that the question of how to move forward has been well aired for over a week now, and it's time for it to end. He stressed that the party has one job, which is to defeat presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump in November. On the campaign trail,
oh, God. This whole election is having real vibes of past bad things. It's feeling very, honestly, like 2016 to me in some ways, where it's like, stop paying attention to my gaffes and to all of my my obvious issues, and pay attention to this over here. And it's like, no, don't do that. Stop saying that. Either have a good answer or stop.
has remained defiant.
What's Joe going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? What's he going to do? Well, here's my answer.
It's not great when you start speaking in the third person. I honestly, I think we kind of got tired of making fun of people for talking in the third person because of Donald Trump, as he's definitely spoken in the third person on a number of occasions. But just imagine if I started doing that all the time. It'd be weird. It'd be weird.
Is he going to drop out? What's he going to do? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again.
Anxiety is running high as top-ranking Democratic lawmakers are joining calls for him to step aside. A private
Omega Star says hydrate. Therefore, I am galactically bound to hydrate. And I knocked over an empty. Good job, me.
call Sunday, including some 15 top House committee members, exposed the deepening divide. But some of Biden's most staunch supporters are also doubling down, insisting there's no one better to beat Trump in what many see as the most important election of a lifetime.
That's just factually inaccurate, right? We've already looked at the data where there is actually a number of people who are currently polling better than Biden is. Most specifically, Kamala Harris, who is in the lead in that pack of better than Joe Biden. So you can't, if you're making that argument, you're just ignoring facts, right? You can make the argument that you like him better. That's fine. You could make arguments that he's better than many of those candidates on this or that issue. But you can't make the argument that he is the best candidate to beat Trump, because it's just wrong. That much has been clear. Did we all see the same fucking debate? The debate that him and his team fastidiously laid out the rules for ahead of time, drop you in the K-Hive. I'm honestly, I'm feeling pretty K-Hive. Buzz me in, dude. she's looking better than Joe Biden. If you'd asked me this question, I don't know, 6 months ago, I'd be like, can we pick someone else? With as little time as we have now, I'm all for it. Considering where the numbers are at, it's just not looking good. I'd much rather try to make up a 1 or 2 point margin than what is it, in the worst polls it's like 10 points. In the best it's like 6 points. Which I believe is technically outside of the margin of error for basically all of these polls. They have like a less than 5% margin of error. An MOE, if you will. All right, well, let's talk about this, which has been something of a story here all day. Start with this one. Parkinson's expert visited the White House, apparently, 8 times in 8 months. You need more emotional support, you think? Why would you need more? Because you have 34 likes already? My God. This is crazy.
So this news just in, new concerns today actually about President Biden's health. We just learned that a Parkinson's expert has been visiting the White House in the past 8 months. 8 times in the past 8 months. That's according to White House visitor logs. We don't know why those visits actually happened, but it is coming as the president is facing growing calls to throw in the towel on his re-election bid with concerns over his health and cognitive ability. Biden says that he's not going anywhere, though, and that his campaign for a second term will continue in full force. Matter of fact, he put out this letter to Democrats just this morning saying, I am firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end.
Guess what? We know. Thank you. Where is this? Here it is. Yeah.
There were 8 visits between the span of last July and this March. This is according to public logs that are available online about White House visitors. But as you say, Keir, we do not know exactly why he was visiting the White House. The White House will only say, quote, a wide variety of specialists from the Walter Reed system visit the White House complex to treat thousands of military personnel who work on the grounds. So essentially, this doctor could have been here for a variety of reasons. We do not know if he was here to advise on the president's personal care. But we do know, according to a summary report released in February by the White House, that the president was seen by a neurologist and had shown no signs of Parkinson's. But of course, there is so much scrutiny on this, given all the questions about the president's mental fitness. President Biden, for his part, has said that he doesn't need to take a cognitive test, that his doctors have told him as well that he does not need to take one. The president defiant, saying that he takes a cognitive test every day doing this job. But of course, all of that not putting to bed all of the doubts about the president's mental fitness and acuity after that disastrous presidential debate.
You do wonder why he doesn't just...
Yeah, what is the most weird about it is that a Parkinson's expert is showing up to the White House that much. Just odd to me. I'm not sure what exactly you would need him there for. That regularity. A lot of people have Parkinson's. I guess that it could be somebody else. I guess it could be somebody else. Entirely possible. All right, let's go to this, where Corinne Jean-Pierre fielded
question on this. Has the president, you mentioned Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, all of these things. One diagnosis that we have heard of, potential diagnosis, is hydrocephalus, which is fluid buildup in the brain. It's something we've never heard in any of the medical reports. Is that something that the president has been evaluating?
If it's not in the medical report, obviously it's not something that the president is dealing with. Well, I can tell you this. Just going back to Parkinson's for a little bit, so to give you some answers here, has the president been treated for Parkinson's? No. Is he being treated for Parkinson's? No, he's not. Is he taking medication for Parkinson's? No. So those are the things that I can give you full-blown answers on, but I'm not going to confirm a specialist, any specialist that comes to the White House out of privacy.
The question is, will the president go to the Hill today? I know we saw his letter. Is he intending to have this conversation face-to-face with him?
So look, the president, obviously this is someone who is a senator for 36 years, who was the president of the Senate as when he was vice president for 8 years, and he truly respects the members of Congress, and has always and will always do that, especially as a former senator. And I will say, and you've heard us say this before, or most recently, is this is a president who's won the primary, right, by 14 million votes, 87%. Of those votes, certainly. And look, I don't have any engagements to read out outside of that. But I will say that the president was in Pennsylvania. I just mentioned at the top, he got to see Senator Fetterman, Senator Casey. He also got to see Congresswoman Dean. He spent some time with them. They traveled across Pennsylvania. And I will say, when the president gets knocked down, he gets back up. This is quintessential Joe Biden. And there are a long list of other congressional members who have shown their support for this president. I don't have anything else to read out. You saw the letter. The letter was, I think, pretty clear on where the president stands, and I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Yeah. You've noted that there are thousands within the Walter Reed system who may be treated by a specialist who visits here at the White House, but this neurologist had a meeting with the president's physician, with his doctor. You're refusing to say if he was here to evaluate the president or if he was consulting on the president's health. So what then was that meeting about?
And I will say that Dr. O'Connor leads the medical unit. He leads the medical unit. No, because we will not confirm or speak to names that you're providing to me. It is out of security reason, is out of protecting someone's privacy. We're just not going to do that. But they are. The reason that I mention that is because there are 1,000 military members that do indeed use the White House medical unit. They do.
This is bad.
They get care from that.
We're talking about the president of the United States.
Guys, I'm trying to answer the question so you can connect the dot that there are multiple neurologists that come, not neurologists, specialists that come through here because there are more than 1,000 medical military personnel here.
But you certainly could clear this all up just by saying what he was doing here and if it was connected to the president, yes or no?
I am not going to confirm a particular neurologist, anybody. It doesn't matter if they're a dermatologist or a neurologist. I'm just not going to do that. I shared.
Okay. We just watched way more of that than I wanted to, but it was very strange. I went to fact check Corinne Jean-Pierre. I thought she said that she was a former senator. Maybe I misheard her, but I don't. According to Wikipedia here, she was not a senator of anything, unless I'm just not reading fast enough. It's kind of going back and forth between trying to figure out why. The second that I searched her name, my browser completely died. Just froze. I don't know if you saw like the little progress wheel that was going, but yeah, it was weird. I'm not gonna say there's any causal links there, but it was very strange. The second I searched her name, my browser just froze. I'm sure the NSA isn't involved in any way.
Help! I'm being repressed!
Okay, let's go to CBS News. This is from 11 hours ago. This is discussing down ballot candidates in smaller elections. According to CBS, they are facing a growing level of intimidation and harassment across the United States.
Thanks, Corinne. I mean, to Kellyo's point, the president today, when he called into Morning Joe, he said that he had released all of his medical records.
Whoops. Sorry.
Should we take that as an indication?
I forgot that I had this one in there too. Forget that. We listened to enough of that press conference.
We are less than 4 months away from Election Day, and it's not just the national campaigns that are heating up. Many local candidates are facing rising levels of harassment, intimidation, and threats too. Caitlin Huey-Burns traveled to the battleground state of Nevada, where these aggressive tactics are being powered by big money.
These days, for local politicians in Washoe County, Nevada, there's less and less that's civil about their discourse, especially when it comes to their school board.
I want you to take these books out of the schools. It's pornography.
So when Beth Smith joined the school board...
You need another emotional support character? How is that possible? We are 30 minutes into the stream. Whoa, where'd that go? Is that 14? Orc from Orc. That is a lot of support characters. Pretty crazy.
She knew she'd be challenged, but she didn't expect to read blogs like this, detailing her painful divorce and making light of her recent battle with cancer.
What you don't expect is her.
That is fucked up. That is fucked up. To be making light of somebody's battle with cancer. That is just... why? I mean, we hear ridiculous things every day of people, you know, doing all sorts of stuff that we have zero, what do you call it? Answers for what exactly is causing them to do things. But come on. Come on.
Harassment and intimidation and attacks on you, that people know where you live, where your kids go to school.
That just does not seem normal.
It's not. When I see messaging with death imagery, I know that it's part of their attacks to get me to stop doing this work.
Well, sound like little sissies.
Local political activist Robert Beatles might be the brawler with the barest knuckles in Washoe County.
I have a ton of money, and I'm going to do everything that I can to remove all of you.
Beatles, seen here 3 years ago, says he made millions in crypto and real estate. He wrote the blog post about Smith.
Are you a bully?
If they're running for...
This guy seems like a real piece of shit. I mean, fuck bully. He just seems like a bad guy who, I don't know, maybe just shouldn't exist. I don't know what we do to start that
can't
going.
Take the truth about them being told in whatever light, then maybe they shouldn't be running for office.
Smith isn't alone facing menacing tactics here. In 2022, both a Washoe County Commission candidate and Reno's mayor found GPS trackers on their cars. The police questioned the private investigator. He wouldn't name his client, but he did talk motive.
Is it political or personal?
It's political.
Okay.
It's not just
Yeah, well, I mean, this is wild. I mean, we have the technology. We can just jettison him into space. You know? And, like, if you're literally funding people to commit political crimes and things like that, I don't think it's even a debate. Shouldn't be a debate.
A CBS News investigation has compiled video evidence of harassment against local officials across the country. City managers.
These are the people that are screwing us over as citizens.
And county clerks.
An unknown individual threw a partial pipe bomb into my house.
This is the reason we need to.
Rid of the Second Amendment.
Look at this. Look at this right here. This fucking image. This guy. This is clearly, I mean, this is beyond a scare tactic. This seems to be a clear threat, right? And this is what we allow. We just keep on giving people weapons to potentially do shit like this.
Citizens.
And county clerks.
An unknown individual threw a partial pipe bomb into my house.
Are bearing the brunt. Earlier this year, a Texas mayor received a threatening package containing a noose and a note that read, "Get out of the race now." Harassment of local officials, Democrats and Republicans alike, has increased by 55% over the past 2 years, according to a new study. And proximity has a lot to do with it.
They shop at the same grocery stores, their kids go to the same schools. That makes them part of this kind of front line of democracy, but it also makes them often at higher risk.
Shannon Hiller ran the study, which focuses on behavior experts are calling lawful but awful.
Only a small percentage of this behavior.
Wait a second. These two things that we just saw can't possibly be lawful. Going onto someone's property and ripping a flag down, I'm genuinely certain that's illegal.
Your experts are calling
also
lawful,
spreading some kind of a chemical, unknown chemical on somebody's property, that also seems to be illegal to me. So I don't know. I don't know if they're attempting to suggest that these two instances of vandalism are in fact legal, but yeah, CBS once again doing great journalism as usual, making sure those editors over there, all that sweet, sweet CBS money, all that great news work they're doing. But the fact is like a lot of this shit is completely fucked, right? So I don't know why they would suggest it's legal. It's clearly not legal. But not the first time CBS has frustrated me with their sort of lackadaisical sort of brand of coverage. Okay. Let's go on to talk about a couple of health-related things here. First, this is not good. NBC Bay Area from 38 minutes ago. Must have been before that, because I definitely watched this story, so it was probably 38 minutes before the stream started. Bay Area COVID-19 levels on the rise. Wait, why do you think that's the next story? That's not the next story. What are you doing?
A company with nearly
Unacceptable. Hold on. Hold on, chat. I gotta fix something. Okay. I don't know how this got out of order. This is very frustrating. I fixed this. Fine. I guess we'll do it in this order. I take it back. We'll do health-related shit in a second. It's just gonna be more complicated for me to deal with. Don't ask why. It just will be. Ugh. Alright. Yes. Alright, let's start with some non-political stuff here. Although it's technically, I mean, all this stuff is technically downstream of politics. Yeah, alright, North Carolina. Apparently, the Department of Transportation has paid hundreds of millions of dollars to a contractor who was found discriminating against minority-owned subcontractors and is still paying them.
A company with nearly $200 million in taxpayer-funded contracts accused of racism. The state investigated those accusations and found they were true.
WRAL Investigates Ashley Rowe has a timeline that
I don't want reality.
There's serious questions about the complaints, the conclusion, and the cash still flowing to the company.
I took my concerns regarding the racial discrimination.
Sharon Vick says his employees were targeted during construction of this mega site in Randolph County.
Staff and management were openly referring to me as a half-breed or as an N-word.
Dwight Armbrust Jr. says he was one of those workers.
This experience is by far the worst display of racism that I've ever encountered in a professional setting.
Vic's company was hired as a subcontractor to oversee safety issues on the site.
All this was reported to NCDOT, and nothing was ever done about it.
The contractor who hired them, Ames Construction, was working with a $17 million contract with the State Department of Transportation.
That's North Carolina taxpayer money.
Attorney Nick Sanservino filed this lawsuit against Ames and the DOT for failing to protect Vic's employees He says the proof is in the DOT's own investigation.
They've already concluded, as the report says, there was unlawful discrimination based upon race.
That conclusion came a year ago, as you can see in this document obtained by WRAL Investigates. The findings: Ames Construction, acting as an agent for the North Carolina Department of Transportation, racially discriminated against Vic, his company, and his employees. NCDOT employees were informed of racially discriminatory behavior and failed to act within their obligations. Yet, WRAL Investigates found the state still hasn't taken any action, despite DOT's recommendations to sanction Ames Construction and one of its own employees.
It almost seems like it's given them a chance to really just be on super good behavior, and then this will all go away.
WRAL Investigates asked the DOT about the lawsuit and received the standard: the NCDOT does not generally comment on active litigation. They didn't answer our other questions, like why are the recommendations taking so long to approve? An online search found Ames won 2 NCDOT bids after the complaints were made, a $167 million contract last year and another $1.7 million in 2022.
And that is...
So after an investigation that found that they were engaged in discriminatory practices and were doing nothing to stop them, they still won a U.S. government contract worth $170 million. Unbelievable.
Very disappointing, both personally as a taxpayer, having a government entity that's supposed to be protecting North Carolina businesses, taking this long to do anything of note.
We also asked the DOT, would recommended probationary status have prevented them from being awarded another contract? No response.
Based on the hiring preferences, coming in as a minority worker, we came to a conclusion that, this was a safe space, that we were going to be judged off of work performance and not our race.
Ashley Rowe, WRAL News.
Now, late today, Ames Construction responded to our request for a comment. In a statement from their attorney, the company denies the allegations in the lawsuit.
Wow. Of course they deny it. Unbelievable. It's just interesting, because people are always, at least on a certain side of these sorts of issues, always claiming that supposed systemic racism, it doesn't exist, if it ever existed, right? And then there's examples like this, where the system is literally paying hundreds of millions of dollars to people who are actively engaging in systemic racism. like it's a literal system, allowing for and also creating profits for people to continue doing that, right? So if anybody ever asks you, how could racism possibly be systemic? Well, there's one very modern example. There's plenty more examples out there in the world too, but that one's just, wow, it's just so clear cut. The fact is, I mean, I don't know if you all heard the things that guy was saying that he endured. But to have to go to work and expect that kind of language to be sent your direction is just utterly unacceptable. All right. Now, let's go to this. As Boeing has now pled guilty to criminal fraud charge in a very controversial deal that it has struck with the Department of Justice, which I would personally call a sweetheart deal. sort of deal that
Now
you
to
would
breaking
never
news
get.
overnight. Boeing pleading guilty to one criminal fraud charge in a controversial deal with the Department of Justice. Our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has the details. Good morning, Pierre.
Michael, good morning. Overnight, Boeing agreeing to plead guilty to fraud in a settlement with the Justice Department involving two deadly crashes in 2018 and 2019. Under the deal, Boeing will pay $243 million and agree to court supervision for at least 3 years. In addition, an independent compliance monitor will oversee the company's production and safety protocols. DOJ in earlier investigations found the company was not building safe 737 MAX airliners and that the company had misled federal regulators looking into the crashes of Ethiopian Air Flight 302 and Lion Air Flight 610. Boeing has faced additional scrutiny after a door blew off in a flight earlier this year, causing an in-flight emergency and injuring passengers. This deal is controversial because family members of those who died in those crashes do not believe the penalties are near harsh enough, and they want company.
Yeah, no kidding. Of course they want it to be harsher because Boeing is getting away with literal murder. Okay, they're paying for death. That's what they're doing right now. They're paying for having killed people, essentially. Right? They're just giving money to the DOJ, essentially. Saying, whoops, our bad. And you're just like, oh, we get that, we get that. It's tough. It's tough not to kill people. And that's how they're moving forward. I think it's a very frustrating situation, which the Department of Justice has just allowed to happen in this particular situation. It just doesn't make any sense why it is they wouldn't just take it to trial, aside from to help cover up Boeing and their malfeasance, and to keep the capitalist machine churning, not to cause problems for a shining American company. But if you personally, all of you chatters, individually in life, did something that caused the deaths of a bunch of people because of negligence, well, you're probably going to jail. Almost definitely. You're definitely going to trial, as long as you're somehow, unless you've somehow done it and nobody had figured out that you'd done it. But in the case that people knew that you'd done it and that you were the one at fault, or that there was at least reasonable suspicion that you were at fault, there would be a trial, right? In this case, something that affects a huge number of people is just being pushed under the rug by the DOJ, because it's easier, better for America, not American people, but the image of America. God, you know what would have helped America's image? Boeing not using all of their fucking, power and money to continue enriching themselves and their investors while completely ignoring safety on so many levels. I literally am not going to list them right now because I've already done it. But let's listen to some of the victims' families reacting after Boeing agreed to this deal with the DOJ from earlier today.
The Department of Justice is acting just like Boeing. They're moving the case along, stamping it and getting out of the way, not with the good quality, not with holding accountability, not with actually pursuing justice. And that's how Boeing produces planes. They just stamp them down the line, get them out of the way, and then they have dangerous new planes in the air. She had no time for any negative conversation about people, and she was the glue in our family. Boeing has still never changed their behavior. The basic situation which caused our daughter's death is the same. There are still avionic, hydraulic, and electrical problems with these planes that are happening because of defective production.
If it wasn't Boeing, if it was a human being that had done
committed a fraud that had led to the deaths of 346 people, would we be having this discussion? No, of course not. There's no way that a deal like this would be given to an individual. But because it's Boeing, apparently rules don't apply. I always say that Boeing does not make little red wagons. They make extremely complex vehicles that the public trusts with their lives and their children's lives. We have to do better. We have to demand that they do better. And there is no alternative.
Absolutely. The fact is, you know, Boeing paying these fines does not bring these people back. Does not actually punish Boeing in any way, or the people that were, you know, in charge of safety. The people who, you know, it was their job to, you know, provide safe aircraft. And the fact is, the people who are in charge of that are the C-suite officers, okay? The fact is especially when it comes to things like this, where it's clearly corporate malfeasance, where it's clearly a corporate culture of ignoring safety, where it's just this profit-driven negligence that you know, you see time and time again. And it's not just Boeing that's technically doing it out there, right? I've talked about forever chemicals and microplastics and other things like that, which are just a tiny fraction of the examples we could bring out technically where this is going on. But the executives of these companies need to see actual justice. They need to see courtrooms. At this time, the way that corporate liability is set up, these people never, ever actually see a jury of their peers, right? They never have to sit in front of 12 other Americans who get to judge, you know, whether or not what they did was just gross negligence or not, right? No, they just get to talk to the DA in a back room, and then voila, everything back to normal. I'd point out that that fine, $230 million, did they say? Hold on, let me look this up. I'm almost positive of this number, but I'm gonna double check it. It was 240 million. Okay, I'll accept that number. It will not make a difference. $240 million on December 31st, 2023. According to this, Boeing bought back $355 million in stock. In no way did that improve the operation of the company. Was it vital? Was it a vital expenditure or anything else like that? So once again, $240 million is a drop in the bucket for them. It means somewhere down the line, a rich person makes, I don't know, 10 cents less on Boeing stock. All right, let's go talk about health now, which I was trying to do earlier. Let's try again here. Bay Area COVID-19 levels on the rises from NBC Bay Area from 2 hours ago.
We've been through this before. COVID numbers are jumping, and the surge is statewide. NBC's Valina Jones explains what's behind this midsummer spike.
Doctors say it's a seasonal spike that we're seeing right now with COVID rates, and while not as high as our winter surge, doctors say the rates are increasing earlier than in previous years and is expected to continue climbing. While COVID may no longer be top of mind for many, rising positivity rates in the Bay Area means it's still part of our community.
It makes sense because I just had it recently. I work in the restaurant industry, so it's just like someone's always calling out sick. So it makes sense. I'm not surprised.
COVID test rates statewide have increased to 10.6%. That's a 3% rise from last week. Locally, wastewater data shows COVID levels are rising in nearly all parts of the Bay, including San Jose, Oakland, and San Francisco over the past month.
COVID is just one of those things where you're just like, it's the norm now. So I think people are kind of like, the fear factor of it is kind of gone.
While the increase is not a shock, some we spoke to say they feel it's a reminder that COVID isn't over.
I think it's still a prevalent issue. And there's a lot of sickness, and there's a concern for the older adult population.
You know, they say that these things just go away with the warmer weather. What we need is to expose it to the sun. Okay, we get no more roofs. No more roofs. I had a contractor tell me he could get it done. No problem. You know what he said to me, Trump? For you, I do it for free. So we just no more. We all the sun, and then if that doesn't work, we're gonna get right to the. Never mind. I'm done.
UCSF infectious disease doctor Peter Chin-Hung says the increase is hitting hospitals too, and cautions those at high risk to take precautions.
Over the last few months, I've taken care of quite a few patients in the hospital. They tend to be older than 75. Or very immune compromised, but pretty much everybody I've taken care of didn't get the new shots.
Dr. Chin-Hung explains extreme heat and summer celebrations are pushing more people inside. That, coupled with a new, more contagious variant and a decrease in immunity 6 months after the winter spike, are all partly to blame for our summer surge.
So we're kind of still in the middle of it. After the July 4th, it was super hot. A lot of people went indoors. I'm expecting the numbers to continue to be high.
I see what he's saying. Because it's so hot, we're all going indoors with one another. And that's causing things to spread. Oh, boy. You've been boosted 4 times. Well, yeah. If you've been boosted and vaccinated that many times, there's probably not a lot of reason for you to be afraid of COVID. As for people unvaccinated, people with other sort of extenuating health circumstances, it can be a completely different story. So it's good to hear the people in chat are staying safe. Alright, last story here to talk about health, to wrap up the health talk, if you will, here in the Americas. Let's look at this from King Vibe Seattle from 2 hours ago. According to a study, the challenges of people of color in accessing mental health care both during and after pregnancy is a serious problem.
Just leave. For Kristen Travis, motherhood was a lifelong dream. Let your worries fade. As a single parent, she planned out her pregnancy and she thought she was prepared.
I didn't know what that was going to be like.
She wasn't.
What's the Mike Tyson? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I got knocked down a little bit.
As a professional doula,
it's a baby.
Kristen says she knew to expect the physical changes of pregnancy, but not the mental ones.
Yeah. The worst of it, I think, was the really intrusive thoughts.
Kristen says her mental health got so bad because her first care team dismissed her initial concerns.
Good job.
She says she felt they were solely focused on the well-being of the baby, then on her. A 2024 study shows Kristen's experience is common for pregnant people of color.
The birthing population came into their pregnancy with...
Dr. Tanya Taiwo is the author of the study. She's also a professor of midwifery at Bastyr University.
If we're thinking of reframing the way we provide care in a more comprehensive way, BIPOC birthing people...
Taiwo's national study has shown that Black and Indigenous women have the hardest time getting mental health care during and after pregnancy.
Okay, we should... I think I might need to change the title of the stream just for this next couple of minutes, just in case Anna Kasparian winds up in here. Trigger warning, the phrase birthing people is being used liberally right now.
Study also found that Latinas reported the lowest rates of postpartum screening for depression.
I don't think you ever come out of a space where it's disappointing to hear these things, but is it surprising? No.
The why behind this? Taiwo says is in part lack of support, not only for the mothers, but also for the providers.
Many providers indicate that I don't know what I would do with the information. Many of my patients don't have comprehensive insurance. And so I don't have anywhere to refer them.
Seriously, though, this is our problem in America, okay? We have such a shitty healthcare system. It's impossible to call it a healthcare system because it's not ours. It's really mostly, private insurers system. It's not, it's not the government's. If anything, the government's just shoveling our money to the private system, right? And if we had an actual public option here, right? Well, that's the wrong word to use, right? Because that's been used in the wrong way. If we had Medicare for all, if we had health care and mental care, like mental health services as well, being guaranteed to everybody, we wouldn't have to worry about where do we send this person who's experiencing mental health issues right now, who's going through some kind of a traumatic experience or whatever else it might be as it relates to pre or postpartum birthing mental experiences, things, whatever it might be, right, relating to your mental health. What are you supposed to do? Say, oh, well, I guess you got money? How's your insurance? Like, it's a fucked up system that we have, if we can even call it a system.
Oh, this rabbit gives us...
On top of that, Kristen says honesty has backfired on women of color before.
Oh, look at the kiddo.
She has seen it in her practice as a doula, that women of color feel there's too much at stake to tell the truth.
Are you shy? You're being shy.
They worry if they appear mentally unstable, their children could be taken away.
Some people will say, hey, I've got this mental situation going on. I might need help. I might need support. And then they have to fear, is somebody going to call CPS? Is somebody going to, say that I'm unfit?
Kristen says she was lucky she found new providers in the second half of her pregnancy who simply took the time to ask, how are you?
They really made you feel like you were a welcome in that space. And I think when you're talking to somebody who looks like you and comes from where you come from and understands what's going on, it's a lot, that takes the weight off right there.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge problem, not just with our mental health care situation, but also with the way society deals with mental health, right? And punishing people for having mental health problems is not good, right? We need a system that supports people who are having mental health struggles in getting over those things, right? In battling those things. In some situations you can't quote unquote get over, and I hope nobody faults me for saying it that way. It wasn't really my intention, but I guess my point is these sort of struggles need to be addressed with understanding and not with retribution, right? And You know, things like that, like having your, like, being concerned that your kids might be taken away or whatever else. It's just, you know, we really do need to do something about our healthcare system. We don't talk about it enough. I think some of it is, I think part of it is because I feel like I resign myself to some degree to what we have right now, which is garbage, because I feel like, you know, our representation doesn't want to, in terms of like our elected representation, doesn't want to do anything about this shit, right? CRT taught in medical schools, CRT taught in kindergarten. I mean, at this point, considering everything, the fact is like, you know, all of the Karen brigades that have been going to these school board meetings to have all these books taken out of libraries, none of them are being taught to young children. They're available as reading material in the libraries. But at this point, because they all just seem to already think that it's being taught, we might as well just do it, right? That's my thinking, right? If they're too stupid to make the distinction between something being in a library and being actively taught in the classroom, well, then I say we actively teach it in the classrooms. That's just me. Way before medical school. If you're already at medical school and you haven't considered anything on CRT yet, oh boy, this is going to be a long road. Start young. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing right now, right? And the fact is, it's all projection, right? Like, you know, they're asking for funds to fund their charter schools and their religious schools, right, from the government, so that they can instill in children a religious view on life. And in some cases, they're actively doing it, like in Oklahoma recently, where we saw that they wanted the governor saying, oh, we need to have the Bible taught, not just have the Bible in classrooms, but have it taught, have it integrated into every lesson, right? Math, 2 + 2 = Jesus. Georgia, where they wanted the 10 Commandments put on the fucking every school room wall or whatever, right? Like, we gotta wake up. They're doing it, right? They are actively grooming children, and you know what? It's time we fight back with some actual real education about actual history. I'm glad everybody likes 2 + 2 = Jesus. It came to me out of nowhere, but it really does kind of describe the situation we are in right now. No? Speaking of 2 + 2 = Jesus, this is actually one situation in which I am glad for anything relating to a Jesus-related institution. Now, will this all turn out in a good way? I don't know. But Colorado's already dealing with a whole host of its own problems in terms of dealing with this issue. And this one church attempted to take it on themselves. The NIMBY Karen Brigade neighbors of this church, about, I think it was a few weeks ago. I think, like, we looked at this maybe a few weeks ago. A month, maybe. But a church in Colorado, if you don't remember, had decided to take it upon themselves to open their doors to the homeless and to say, homeless people can set up in their parking lot and in other like area that they had that was part of their property. And the neighbors all were completely outraged that Jesus would want to help the poor, which is weird. But once again, most people who claim to love Jesus don't read the Bible. This situation has gotten to the point where the church had to go to court now, as the town and the church are facing off. This is from right before I started the stream, CBS Colorado.
The church that sued a Colorado town alleging their religious rights were violated had its first day in U.S. District Court today.
The Castle Rock zoning rules stopped the Rock Church from sheltering homeless people in 2 RVs on their property last year, saying doing so was a violation. The church says sheltering the homeless is its constitutionally protected religious duty. Your reporter in Douglas County, Olivia Young, sat in on those proceedings, has been following the story since the...
Oh, it's so funny. Because it's like when a church says that, I usually get like, oh no, wait, your duty to this isn't gonna go well, and then it's about this. I'm like, wow, first time they actually found one of the good parts of the Bible.
And Olivia, what happened in court today?
Well, McKellia, today's hearing focused on the church's motion for preliminary injunction, essentially asking the court to allow them to continue sheltering the homeless while court proceedings play out. Now, those RVs have been empty since December. That's when the town ordered the church to stop sheltering people there. But that could soon change if the judge rules in favor of the church.
We're just trying to continue doing what we've been doing, helping those who need it most.
The town of Castle Rock declined an interview, but told us they have, quote, retained defense counsel to rigorous...
Yeah, because nobody wants to actually be the face of telling, telling churches that they can't do the best part of the Bible, which was helping the poor. Jesus Christ.
Defend the zoning authority of communities. That council today arguing that the church could execute their religious mission in ways that don't violate zoning. Meanwhile, attorneys representing the church say sheltering people at the church is part of the Rock's sincere religious belief.
And what the town is doing here is preventing the church from doing church things. The acts
Super
of
weird.
caring and showing compassionate to the needy go all the way back to biblical times.
Defense attorneys for Castle Rock raising concerns about the implications of a ruling in the church's favor. The judge even asking what's to stop anyone from violating zoning regulations, claiming they have a religious calling.
It is not the government's job or place to dictate how someone exercises their religious beliefs. And if they're going to limit, they have to have a really, really good reason to do so. The town has not shown that reason today.
The church alleges the town retaliated against them by telling organizations like the Red Cross not to work with them.
We want to put a stop to that type of retaliatory behavior.
The town...
Yeah, and especially in this case, I'm all for them winning this case right now, because this is ridiculous. This is just wild. Oh God. I just don't know how this town ever thought this was gonna be a good plan for them. But I would love to see is a more separation of church and state. We've been seeing a very weird sort of muddling of the two recently. And oh my God, earlier today, the Majority Report had on a guest that really was quite, I want to say, like almost like sort of eye-opening on some of this discussion as it relates to Christian nationalism in this country. I don't know if anybody here saw it. I was hoping they'd already clipped it. I was thinking about just trying to clip it myself, but too many other things happening. Kick the homeless into the streets, just like Jesus said.
Jesus, I say that.
Okay, let's go to a different story in Denver, which we actually looked at, I think, yesterday, but I think, especially because of this story, deserves a second fucking look. Here's Denver 7. According to them, former Hotel Denver purchased... I'm sorry, I'm reading this in the wrong... Oh God, try this again. Former hotel, which Denver purchased over a year ago. I think they actually purchased it 3 years ago. This title's wrong. Which they purchased for the unhoused, is still not open.
Well, tonight there's a lot of questions surrounding a former Denver hotel that was supposed to help people get off the streets.
Well, converting hotels, as you know, has been a key part of the city's strategy to combat homelessness.
But one project still hasn't opened nearly a year after the city spent $9 million of your tax dollars on it.
Denver 7's Brandon Richard went looking for answers.
And we have been focused on this very complex challenge of homelessness.
In 2021, then Mayor Michael Hancock stood in front of the Stay-In Hotel at 38th and Peoria and announced plans for the city to buy the hotel and convert it into a shelter for people experiencing homelessness.
This building here behind us represents hope, the transformation that can take place on this property, and the transformation that is possible for the people who will call it home.
Okay, so maybe I'm both wrong and right. Because, once again, this is from 2021, at least 3 years ago. And they were talking about this hotel, which is already abandoned, right? So nobody's using it, sitting there abandoned. Takes them, I don't know, whatever, a year and a half to actually purchase the property.
Fast forward to 2023, and Denver's new mayor, Mike Johnston, announced the city had finally bought the 96-room hotel for $9 million.
We do also want to announce we're excited about the acquisition formally of another hotel property. This is the Stay Inn, which will represent about 100 units of housing.
But this is what 3 years and $9 million of taxpayer money have produced. A boarded-up hotel not one person has been able to move into. Now, in addition to boarding up the windows, the city also put up this chain-link fence in an effort to keep people off the property. But we wanted to know why the hotel shelter hasn't opened yet.
We're actively working on that project.
Last week.
This is ridiculous. I mean, we just got done talking about how a town had sent a church an injunction to keep them from housing the unhoused, and here in Denver, they spend $10 million on a building, and board up the windows and keep anybody from getting onto the property. And it's just this insane paradox. Like, it's just like it's an oxymoron, right? Like, all right, let's spend $10 million and then block it off from any of the people who might actually need to be here, who might need to be under a roof. I would point out that Colorado has had some pretty inclement weather that we've looked at over the recent past. I'm sure there's plenty of people who would have liked to be, I don't know, under that roof rather than kept out by a fence.
In a city council meeting, the mayor's homelessness czar, Cole Chandler, said the city was still looking for a long-term partner to run the site and was still working on rezoning.
So we are actively working on the rezoning process. We are actively working on identifying the scope of the construction and the partner to do it. And we are actively working on who.
Actively working on? But that when they're talking about that and saying things like, oh, we need a partner, we just haven't found the right partner. It's all about money. It's all about it. This is all about money and who can make the sweetest deal to the government or whatever else, because they want to use private contractors to deal with this. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Long-term operator and property manager of the site will be.
Friday, the Department of Housing Stability, which oversees the project, told us the partner selection was delayed after staff determined the potential partner they had been negotiating with wasn't the best partner for this project, and said the city was fully committed to transforming the former Stay-In property into supportive housing. But the city has not offered a timeline of when the site will finally open.
Oh my God. Governments need to stop relying on corporations to the degree that they do for practically everything now. The continued privatization of everything governmental is what's leading to these problems, I feel like. It's not the only reason, but it's certainly up there. It's a truly ironical situation, though. All right, how deep in are we right now? We got a bunch of shit to talk about. It's already an hour and a half in. I'm going to take a quick break. Hope everybody has been enjoying the stream so far. If you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Still need to get to 500 to get this goddamn YouTube channel monetized. If you've already done those two things, well, first off, thank you. But you'd like to somehow contribute even more, well, here's a good idea. You could become a Galactic producer on Patreon. Not only could you feel good about yourself for having helped contribute to this show, you could also gain access to some super sweet Galactic space benefits. That's right, for just a few US dollars a month. Alright, chat, well, grab yourselves a drink, maybe a snack, and I'll be right back. Well, chat, this galactic intermission is getting closer and closer to being over. Alright, well, it's time to start talking about the climate. And the Earth at large, which is in seemingly a great amount of peril. I think we'll start here in Canada, where dangerously hot temperatures have been sweeping through the western parts of the nation.
For Griffin and Brooks Anderson, it's the perfect day to scoot around the skate park, trying out new tricks and showing off while their dad watches on.
I kind of love it, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's great.
But as above 30-degree temperatures are expected, time outside might need to be adapted.
Probably be a lot more indoor time, to be honest with you, and any sort of outdoor time will probably happen early morning, kind of late night when it cools down a little bit.
Edmontonians across the city are taking advantage while the heat wave makes its way across the prairies.
Above normal temperatures developed across southern BC over the weekend. The heat will continue there and expand east, affecting Alberta and southwestern Northwest Territories today, Saskatchewan by Tuesday, and spreading into Manitoba by Wednesday.
It's expected to be potentially dangerous for
So yeah, it looks like, hold on, whoops, go back. Yeah, if you look at this sort of legend they have for how the temperatures work, I think, yeah, so this orange part of this sort of grouping of heat here is extremely above average, and oh, okay, I see. I was trying to read the bottom, I realized it's in French. So yeah, that's moving from BC to Alberta to Manitoba. Just kind of in a line, 1, 2, 3 over the week. So prepare yourselves for that, Canada.
And spreading into Manitoba by Wednesday.
It's expected to be potentially dangerous for vulnerable Edmontonians who don't have shelter and can't avoid the extreme heat.
Dehydration, they're looking for heat stroke. Our nurses are also on standby, and they're also instructed to do the rounds as well.
Air conditioning.
Okay. Now, let's go south to California, where it's also very hot.
So hot right now.
And there are still at least 20 wildfires happening during this historic heat wave that Californian firefighters are attempting to battle. This is from CBS News from 13 hours ago.
About 145 million people are under heat alerts, and the National Weather Service calls the situation extremely dangerous. In California, dozens of active wildfires add to the danger. Temperatures have topped 120 degrees in some parts of the West. Carter Evans is watching all of this for us.
Burning just outside Santa Barbara, the lake fire has more than quadrupled in size since Friday and has now charred more than 18,000 acres with little containment. It's one of at least 21 fires burning in California alone, and it's prompted evacuations, along with threatening homes near Michael Jackson's former home, Neverland Ranch.
The heat and the low humidity is making these fires grow quickly.
And California is not just dealing with wildfires. The state's in the midst of a historic heat wave.
Oh my gosh, it's so hot here.
I don't really like being here, like when it's like this hot outside.
Multiple records were broken this weekend. Death Valley, one of the hottest places on Earth, hit a...
Is that Stan Lee? Can't be Stan. It literally cannot be Stan Lee. I feel like you should know the reason for this. I don't even want to say it out loud, as I feel like it's going to make a bunch of people sad. But there's a very
blistering 129 degrees yesterday, tying the 2007 record and contributing to at least one death. In Las Vegas, temperatures hit 120 yesterday, setting Sin City's all-time record.
Yeah, we were going to walk up and down the strip, but it's just way too hot to do.
So hot right now.
Could be the ghost of Stan Lee. That's true. It could be. I take it all back. I take it all back. Stan Lee didn't die. What is he, Tupac? Biggie? He not dead? Actually, I feel like it hasn't really, not as big of a not as big of a conspiracy theory with Biggie as opposed to Tupac. Oh, for a second I thought your redeemed highlight, my message on Twitch, was me needing to approve something. I just realized what happened. That totally threw me off. I was in the middle of saying something. I was like, wait, why does Twitch want me to approve another fucking comment? Always with your shenanigans. And I'm like, oh no, it's a highlighted message. I just said that. I don't know what you're referring to. Oh, that's what I keep forgetting to do. There's an add-on I can use on Streamlabs that allows me to highlight YouTube messages on my stream, which I found to be an interesting feature that was not existent a number of years back. All right, let's just look at this one as well. There are some really serious fires still burning in California.
2 wildfire emergencies across the West, including a series of warnings and evacuation orders in California, where firefighters are struggling to contain the massive lake fire, which exploded to over 19,000 acres. Kana Whitworth is in Santa Barbara, California for us. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, Michael, good morning.
Wait, Kana, please hold. How many?
Santa Barbara, California. Lake fire, which exploded to over 19,000 acres.
Jesus Christ.
Kana Whitworth is in Santa Barbara, California for us. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, Michael, good morning. So throughout the West,
I think the last time we were talking about the lake fire, it was like 1,500 acres. That's more than 10 times as many.
the fire behavior has been described as dangerous and erratic. Here on the lake fire at the beginning, the flames were moving so fast they were scorching 600 acres every single hour. Now, this fire has more than doubled in size and prompted new evacuations last night.
This morning, thousands of Americans out west racing to evacuate as fast-moving flames tear through dry vegetation toward homes and communities.
It's scary. I know a lot of people live around the area. Hopefully everybody can stay safe and keep all the structures up.
Amid hot, dry conditions, several wildfires flaring up out west. In California alone, over 150 fires started over the holiday weekend. In Santa Barbara County, emergency crews battling the massive lake fire.
So look at how high those flames are. That's 100 feet in the air. And these flames are being pushed by that wind. You can see how high and how quickly they are growing.
So far, scorching at least 19,000 acres, threatening the infamous Neverland Ranch. And in El Dorado County, the Pay Fire burning near the plant.
That would be the only good outcome of this fire. Oh, I'm sorry, Chad. I know I'm not taking this nearly serious enough, but if that's somehow a fringe benefit of this,
Airport.
It's inappropriate, and I'm sorry.
Firefighters throughout the state suffering from heat-related injuries as the West endures record-setting temperatures.
It's worse than an oven. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like an oven. It's like walking in the oven. Or you open the oven after 350.
Yeah.
It's in the face.
Death Valley hitting 129 degrees. A park visitor dying from heat exposure.
Jesus.
Now, an excessive heat warning will remain in effect in this area at least throughout the day today. Firefighters do have some containment on this list.
People, stay hydrated out there. If you're the one that needs to hear it, don't overdo it. You know, just think about your safety, please. StreamLord cares about you. See, it's weird when I say it. I tried it. No, I care about you. Okay, I really do. Stay hydrated. Stay cool. Don't overexert yourself in these extreme circumstances. And know when it's time to stop. That for some people is something that we really need to hear. I think perhaps the men in this audience more than the ladies, although I could be wrong to some degree on that one as well. But I feel like sometimes as men we want to be tough. And we don't want to admit when we are overdoing things. It's important to put away that ego and say, hey, I might be in danger. Just throwing that out there. Luna talks about herself in the third person. Okay. All right. I'll allow it. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should start doing it now too. Seem more aloof. What's next for StreamLord? Ah, yes. This from Reuters. 3 hours ago. Footage down on Death Valley, where temperatures nearly hit 130 fucking degrees Fahrenheit.
That's hot.
Death Valley National Park along the California-Nevada border is proving once again to be a tourist magnet, with predictions it will officially be the hottest place on Earth in the coming days. Park Ranger Gia Ponce.
Yeah, so the last couple of days and going into next week is some unprecedented heat. The National Weather Service has issued a heat warning. They're saying these temperatures that we're seeing will likely challenge.
I take it back. I thought it only hit 129. That says 130 fucking 1. Ew. And for those of you non-freedom units users, also known as the metric system, 55 degrees Celsius. Good God.
So hot right now.
That is disgusting. Oh, God. Pretty sure steel boils about that temperature. Just kidding. Much hotter. But but still. Oh, God. That's terrible.
Current records, if not break them. And so far, the last 2 days, we've already broken some daily records.
The National Weather Service projects highs near 130 degrees Fahrenheit through Friday.
In 2020, August of 2020, we reached 130 degrees, and that was actually recently certified by the Weather Service as hottest day in the last 100 years. In 2021, we reached 130 degrees. This upcoming week, we're seeing
hottest day in 100 years, and then it happens again the next year. Seems like a pattern. I don't know.
Climate and everything are the same word.
Okay, well, Jordan Peterson seems to think climate and everything are the same word, and he's a scientist, so wait, no, he's not a scientist. He's actually just a guy with was a psychology degree, I think. So, not a scientist, as it turns out.
Cast of 130 degrees. So if it does reach 130 this upcoming week, that's going to set.
And in fact, didn't that get taken away from him by the Board of Health in Canada? He's not even that anymore. I could be wrong on that one, but that's what I remember hearing in the news at one point.
New records. And again, these will be the hottest temperatures reliably recorded.
The agency on Sunday said about 36 million people, roughly 10% of the country, are under excessive heat warnings coming from a heat dome centered over California. Research shows fossil fuel-driven climate change is fanning extreme heat waves across the world and will continue to deliver dangerous weather for decades to come.
What am I gonna do with this heat? He had to do sensitivity training and he refused. That's right. I remember now. You know, I feel like we haven't heard from Mr. Peterson very much recently. Not that I'm complaining. I mean, I've clipped him enough times.
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century.
Okay. Let's leave that to talk about how people in Las Vegas experienced also some incredibly extreme heat here on the Strip.
Sunday was the hottest day ever recorded in Las Vegas. The mercury hit 120 degrees yesterday. That's 16 degrees above its normal average July temperature of 104. People who were outside in the extreme heat say they did what they could to stay hydrated and find shade wherever they could.
You know what I want to watch? Just because we've been talking about... I'm sorry, not I. StreamLord. What StreamLord wants to watch. Because of this conversation that we've been having. The adventure of the heat wave. The global heat wave. The adventures of StreamLord and Company. On the historical heat wave. Episode 7. This one feels like episode 700. How many have we even done? I know it's over 120. What was I doing? Ah, yes. This. Just for fun. I know it's technically not Sunday Fun Day. Doesn't mean we can't have just a tiny bit of fun.
Should we try that again? Hail Caesar.
Hello.
That was perfect. Mighty Caesar, your council has devised 2 further ploys to ensure the success of your forthcoming parley with Cleopatra.
You mean on top of the hail thing?
Which was perfect. Yes, henceforth you're to refer to yourself only in the 3rd person.
Right. Okay, so what?
No.
What?
So instead of saying I am listening, you say Caesar is listening or Caesar listens. Makes you seem more...
mental?
Important.
Right. So
No, Caesar.
I thought I was Caesar.
Stop saying I.
Oh, I see. Oh, sorry. He sees.
That's perfect. So you say he or one or Caesar. Makes you seem more imposing.
Right. I see. So you want me to...
No.
Oh, you want Caesar, him, you want him...
That's it.
To seem more aloof. I get it. What?
Mighty Caesar! Mighty Caesar!
Nessus.
Try that.
What? Oh, Caesar is listening.
What?
Caesar is listening.
I thought you were Caesar.
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes. Am I? But I thought... But Caesar thought... Oh, I get it.
So close.
I mean, he gets it. He means he gets...
Okay, Caesar, from now on, every time you forget to refer to yourself in the 3rd person, I'm going to blow on this reed.
I don't. Caesar understands.
What's this 3rd person?
New protocol.
Ah.
You bring news.
Mighty Caesar, I bring you news... Oh, He brings you news. He brings, sorry, him news.
Yes, yes.
Are we? No. He. Sorry, is it? What?
What are you doing?
We're all referring to ourselves in the third person.
Yes.
No.
Are we? I mean, them.
No.
Okay. Enough silliness. I do really like Mitchell and Webb, though. I'm not gonna lie. And that's what that conversation about third person made me think of. I mean, StreamLord think of. All right, on to more serious things. Past Las Vegas, on to Utah, where apparently, and we have not been talking about Utah at all for any reasons, really. I feel like it's like a skip. We just skip this state, I feel like, every single day. However, this is from 2 hours ago, where apparently a wildfire is now growing in Utah's Silver King and has reached over 10,000 acres burned already, and is becoming a serious concern for local officials and fire brigades. Fire officials say the Silver King wildfire has grown to more than 10,000 acres and exhibiting extreme fire behavior.
Agency administrators and signatures of delegation and stuff, and just sit down and validate objectives.
It's greatly impacted our little community. It's pretty scary how it went from 500 acres to about 5,000 acres, and here we are day 3, and we're already over 10,000 acres.
Oh my God!
And no.
3 days from 500 acres to 10,000? That is troubling.
Containment.
There's definitely cause for concern. The fire behavior that it's exhibiting is definitely worrisome. The fuels and material that it's burning in makes that difficult to stop.
I packed a suitcase last night, put my meds in there. It's like there's nothing the matter with erring on the side of caution. Us coming together and staying together as a community like we always have. Really appreciate that here in our community. Everybody really watches out for one another.
Engines, crews, aircraft, and dozers were working in excessive heat conditions to limit the fire spread, but conditions were challenging efforts. The governor has urged residents to stay informed through local news and official updates on evacuations. Good Lord. Insert troubling words here. Yeah, I feel like that is the vibe of this stream most days. And I'm sorry for that, but I'm just bringing the news to you. That's really all that's happening. I didn't make the global news. Blame global news for that story, okay? I didn't start that fucking fire. I won't have you blame that fire on me, okay? No space lasers were involved in this fire. All right. Let's go south. We are not done talking about Hurricane Beryl, which has been barreling through the Gulf of Mexico. Sorry, that was inappropriate. It has officially made landfall in Texas, and the storm surge, which is accompanying this storm, is quite high. I think the number is something like 6 or 7 feet. I'll start with this CNN story. Yeah.
Hurricane Beryl strengthening to a Category 1 hurricane overnight, making landfall actually just moments ago near Matagorda Beach, about 150 miles north of Corpus Christi. More than 7 million people are under a tornado watch, including the Houston area, as winds reach up to 80 miles an hour.
Just know it's going to be wet, it's going to be windy, and it's going to be dangerous. Do not go out.
Beryl is expected to bring life-threatening storm surge and flooding to the region. Multiple hurricane warnings are now in effect. Meteorologist Derek Van Dam is tracking all of it for us live from Port Lavaca, Texas. And Derek, gosh, I can see you're getting a taste of it there. So it's just made landfall now. What do we expect to happen next?
Yeah, right now we are witnessing the first hurricane of the Atlantic 2024 season making landfall here along the central Texas coast, and we are just a few miles away from where that eye is crossing over the Texas coastline. That is why we are getting buffeted by these strong tropical storm force gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour. This storm has rewritten the history books and had a dubious track record, being named for now over 10 days, finally making its third landfall here in the continental United States. So let's get right to the threats and the graphics. The latest radar satellite imagery shows this 80-mile-per-hour category.
He is right. This thing has been breaking records, historical records, in terms of being the earliest named storm in the Gulf, I believe, the most powerful storm at this time of year, the earliest Category 5 storm. Sorry, I just said the same thing twice. But yeah, the earliest Category 5 storm. I think also it may be the most damage that Grenada has ever seen from a hurricane. I could be wrong on that one, but I think it's real close on that one for sure. I don't know what the other records might be, but that feels like enough records for one storm in a storm season that's supposed to bring at least 20 plus named storms this year, I believe. So it's gonna be, and people have been saying this is something of a bad omen for the rest of the season, with how early this storm formed, how powerful it got, and with what the NOAA said earlier this year, leads many to believe that this means the rest of the hurricane season will be hitting the upper echelon of the predictions, because the NOAA put out a whole host of predictions, like the low end, the high end of what it would be. I don't have the graph in front of me right now. I kind of wish I did. I feel like I could easily find it right now. But my stream software is moving slowly, and it's causing me to move slowly. Switch. There we go. All right. No dying. No dying in chat. Not allowed. It's against the Galactic rules. Did I miss another hydrate? Whoopsies. If I did, here's the hydrate. Delicious. All right, let's go to ABC News. Watch the moment firefighters work to rescue driver caught in flood. Brought by Beryl.
We are getting a new video in of a rescue underway in the Houston area. Again, like we said, this is the first hurricane to hit the Texas area in 3 years, and you can see first responders there on what looks like a fire ladder trying to get to a man on top of a car. That car submerged in water, looks like a pickup truck, trying to reach down and get him. Now, this was a storm that brought both life-threatening storm surge and torrential.
Do they show a picture of this road? Oh, man. I don't think they did. I watched multiple videos on this. But, like, you know what is real weird to me? And maybe it's because, like I know how to swim. But this is such a short distance. I don't see how it is with the car at this height, like, of water. I don't see how it is you don't just get out of your car and kind of either wade over or kind of doggy paddle your way over. You know, whatever you're capable of. And I saw this guy, he gets out of here and he walks around perfectly fine. I was expecting him to be like disabled or something. You know, perfectly fine. I was so confused by this. But yeah, all of the city's resources came to save this one dude. It felt like an odd decision to me. Like, while you're sitting there, why didn't it ever come to mind to just kind of jump off of the car? It's clearly not that deep. like the water's below the door handle. Oh god. Okay. 12:25 Eastern Standard Time. That's right. Looks like the Galactic Space Station's coming up on, what is this here below me? Is that France? Hard to tell. Hard to tell from this distance. Beautiful view from the Galactic Space Station, as always. In whatever time zone you're in, I hope you're having a fantastic night so far. What else do we have to look at? Alright, we actually have some more pressing stories to look at regarding Beryl.
All right, well, let's start with Hurricane Beryl's wrath in Texas. It made landfall in the Lone Star State earlier this morning after strengthening overnight. This is now a dangerous Category 1 storm with torrential rain and sustained winds up to 80 miles an hour. More than 100,000 residents are currently without power in the state. Beryl made landfall between Galveston and Corpus Christi. You see it highlighted on this map, and there are...
Yeah, you can see New Orleans. We were kind of talking about this yesterday, I think, or at least one of the days, is that the way the storm was set up, it was going to wind up probably curling over and hitting other parts of the Gulf Coast here, including New Orleans and Louisiana here. May even go and hit, what is this, Mississippi.
Many did not evacuate in time. Jason Allen.
And that's just as a Category 1 storm. Now, it's going to continue up through the Midwest. At least that's my understanding so far on this. This is a slightly older video, so we're going to keep moving because that already the numbers that they're saying are out of date. That 100,000 number has been completely just knocked out of the park, if you will, to use a baseball analogy. Because it is now up to at least 2 million people in Texas without power. Let's go next to this. Oh, actually, shit. Nah, whatever. Actually, no, I take it back. Just gotta go ahead to this. Where's this map? It's like at the end, isn't it? Why do you insist on making me watch your whole stupid videos? There it is. Okay. Let's look at this. This is the same video, but the path of the hurricane here.
that basically tried to intensify upon landfall. So it's going to take a moment to wind down. So power outages in Houston and Galveston across northeastern Texas as this thing continues to pull on to the north. And look at this. You're talking about a track cone that goes all the way up into the Great Lakes by time we roll into Thursday. So it's going to be a long week of rain falling through here. Some of this very, very heavy rainfall. It gets a little bit less as we move to the north, but 3 to 5 inches is no slouch. You can easily flood with that kind of rainfall up in Arkansas. And remember, it was just a few weeks ago that eastern Texas, especially in the Trinity River, had all of that flooding. So those rivers are just coming out of that, and more than likely they're going to go back in it. The other big issue, of course, is the heat out west. 120.
It's going to continue to be hot.
So hot right now.
You know, a Beryl Lynn, she's awful. Write that down. It's going to lose energy because it's moving over land. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Just wanted to point out that the path of the storm will be going through that path that they just showed us, through the Midwest, all the way up through, what was that? The border between Ohio and Canada, I guess. I'm trying to think of which Great Lake that was. Is that Erie? All right. Let's just go to this. According to this CNN story from 9 hours ago, Houston was hit with more than a month's worth of rain in less than 24 hours.
Also this morning, we're following major breaking news in Texas. Tropical Storm Beryl is putting 7 million people at risk with heavy rain, winds, and potential flash flooding. Beryl made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane earlier this morning, about 100 miles southwest of Houston. Texas law enforcement says at least one person has died after a tree fell on a house. Fallen trees have also contributed to widespread power outages. More than 2 million customers in the state have already lost electricity, most of them in the Houston area. Let's go to CNN meteorologist Eric Van Dam. He's joining us from Port Lavaca, Texas, right now. That's just west of where Beryl crashed ashore. What are you seeing over there, Derek?
Yeah, Wolf, Tropical Storm Beryl is barreling through southeastern Texas as we speak. Now, here in Port Lavaca, in the central coast of Texas, the storm has largely passed, but the same cannot be said to my northeast in the city of Houston, where they are getting absolutely rocked by powerful winds, very heavy rain leading to flash flooding, and some of the first hurricane force winds from a named tropical storm since 2008, Hurricane Ike. That's really putting this into context. Right now, Houston reporting sustained winds of 45 miles per hour, gusting to 75 miles per hour. Remember, a Category 1 starts at 74, so they are officially in that range in terms of their gusts. This is causing widespread power outages and also toppling trees and power lines.
Okay. Emotional. Another one? Another emotional support character. We get to 50 likes on a stream. I think, is that the highest we've ever gotten? I think that might be the highest we've ever gotten. Truly incredible, chat. Here's a round of applause for all of you. Okay. Let's go to this. This is just the Houston mayor providing updates on Hurricane Beryl from earlier today, about 7 hours ago.
We want to take you to Houston, where the mayor is giving an update on Beryl.
After riding the streets of Houston with the police chief at 2 o'clock, it did not...
Hold on, let me roll the dice for you. 58 likes, that's not possible. 10. Who is 10? Let me just make sure. Oh shit, wait, alright. My stream software's lagging. That's good.
And certainly this morning at 6, a new set of weather conditions arrived during the night. Very serious amount of water, in excess of 10 inches across most of our city, approaching 90 miles per hour winds, hurricane conditions. But we prepared for this. We had the department directors with us yesterday when I spoke to the public. Everyone was pre-positioning its resources. And of course, one of our major concerns is always energy, electricity. We have over 2 million in our region without power, over 700,000 Houstonians. What I want to emphasize in this briefing is, please.
So yeah, 2 million people in Texas without power, 700,000 just in Houston.
Houstonians, anyone that can hear my voice, shelter in place. Shelter in place. We're in an emergency. We're in a rescue mode, life safety. We're literally getting calls across Houston right now asking for first responders to come rescue individuals in desperate life safety conditions. We've been in the control room monitoring Houston fire, saving a life on 288 and Holly Hall, literally saving a person's life. We have fires that we're addressing. So shelter in place. We've had individuals show up at the LBJ hospital, residents in the lobby, seeking out safety. We're doing everything we can. These department heads, the first responders.
Okay. 61. Unreal. Okay. Well, if the numbers say it. Who's 13? Oh my god. Why does my stream software hate me and chat so much? It's not just me. The software hates you all, right? You're the ones who've done so much to get all of these likes. It's really you who Streamlabs is forsaking in this moment. There we go. Okay. I gotta switch to this one and hope that this reloads quickly enough for me to fix the support characters here. Don't put this on you. I'm not putting it on you. I'm putting it on stream, like the stream software right now. I'm saying it's you're the ones who are being disappointed most by this, not me, because I didn't put all the effort in to get all of those likes. Certainly nothing I did. I'm not physically liking the stream for you all. It's each and every one of you individually supporting the stream. Can the screen even handle 6 support? It could handle all of them, technically. If we had 200 likes, we could have all 20. I wouldn't test that theory today because we're already like 2+ hours into the stream, which means that my stream software is acting like an asshole. Alright, let's just go straight to this next one. This is Texans reacting to Hurricane Beryl. Texas residents survey the damage after Hurricane Beryl slams the coast. Goddamn. Oh my god, the entire facade got ripped off. Those are bricks.
On the other side, you can't even get within 2 blocks, you know. Cars, vehicles can't get down in there. It's just everywhere. It's a low-lying area through here. It's pretty widespread. You'll see it on the other side too, and all over there, it's pretty bad. Down power lines, trees, fences, just litter and stuff, debris everywhere. So.
And water.
Oh, and plenty of water. Yeah, plenty of water.
Duck the audio when I'm narrating. Sometimes I try and do it when I notice it being too loud. It's a fair point. It's just one of many things that I could be doing better. Texas has been getting slammed with terrible weather this year. Absolutely, my dogs. It's been insane. Seemingly storm after storm. I feel it must be making people in Texas more open to the idea of climate change than perhaps they were at one point. I don't know exactly what those numbers look like. But you would think that it would at least sway some people, seeing this sort of thing happening over and over and over again. Hey, look at that. Stream software updated. There's Jocelyn Bell Burnell. Who was the other one that you got? Oh, right. Ellen Ripley from Alien. There we go. There's everybody. But yeah, to somebody who was asking about this, just to go even further into it, I technically set it up so that you can see all of them, no matter who is out there. Pretty good. I mean, it's a little hard to do, but pretty much we could, you know. Would some people be kind of obscured, like a tiny bit? Absolutely. You're already seeing that right here. Most of George Carlin is gone, but you can still see his sort of, almost sort of reprimanding sort of glare, if you will. I think that should count for something. All right. Yeah, let's move on. You keep waiting to see if you hear a vape getting knocked off the table. I've been better at not knocking the vape off the table. I feel like 4.5 months in now, I have learned that lesson enough times that it happens less frequently. It's not every stream now. Ripley looks like she's protecting Carlin. I think it does kind of look like that. I think you might be right. Alright, let's go on to this. I'm gonna go across the pond to Italy. Where the spectacular Mount Etna eruption is amazing tourists as activity intensifies. Oh god.
Dopo meno di 2 giorni abbiamo un'altra attività parossistica da lavoraggi.
Oh no.
Niente, noi stiamo andando a vedere un po'.
Hold on. Oh, there. Now you want to work. Okay. Thank you. So helpful. Look at me. Look at me doing this. Oh. Volcanic activity from Etna's Voragine crater has intensified this week with vigorous explosions following a 4-year dormancy. After less than 2 days, we have another paroxysmal... what the fuck? I have never seen that word in my life. Paroxysmal activity of the lava flow. I have no idea what that means. Hold on. We are looking up this fucking word. Paroxysmal, a fit, attack, or sudden increase of symptoms. Okay. Thank you for that.
turistica del lavoraggine. Niente, noi stiamo andando a vedere un po'.
Well, we are going to take a look, moving westward to conduct a survey and better observe the phenomenon.
This is my first time so close to the Etna, and right now I'm so overwhelmed of a lot of emotions because I have been living in Sicily for 5 years and I never seen this volcano so close.
I've seen more than 100 eruptions in my life. It's always amazing to see an incredible show like that.
100? It's a lot. You must be a volcano scientist. Wow, that seems harsh. You saw a girl yelling at her boyfriend for dropping her cup. So I feel like there's got to be some underlying issues. Like, it can't just be the cup, right? Like, that's what you saw. But I could be wrong. She could be just a horrible person who just, I don't know, treats her boyfriend like a servant. And how dare you droppeth my cup? But I just feel like there's got to be like something else going on underneath the surface, right? Like at home, something is going on, right? Or somewhere. I'm just trying to figure this out. I don't know. I might be overthinking it. Maybe he drugged it. If he drugged it, I feel like dropping the cup is a favor. So why yell then? Alright, let's go to this. Staying in Italy. But going, I think south, technically, to Sicily. Where Sicily's only natural lake is disappearing. Astounding exactly 0 scientists.
This is what remains of Sicily's only natural lake. Lake Pergusa has been hit hard by severe drought. Scientists say a lethal mix of hot weather and months of below average rainfall is to blame. Giuseppe Maria Mato with the environmental group Legambiente says the lake is disappearing.
The lake is no longer there. The part of the water that was visible has completely disappeared. Apart from this puddle that we have here, which will be about 1/100th of the size of the lake, everything else is underground, in the water table. What little is left in the water table. So the lake, in fact, as a lake, is no more.
This is what it used to look like. Lake Pergusa's surface is usually just under a square mile. And the Roman poet Ovid's
just looks like a lake. It's like a normal lake. And then suddenly, that's a real difference.
In the Roman poet Ovid's Metamorphoses, it is described as a place of beauty and eternal spring. Now, Sicily is grappling with climate change-related high temperatures. Italy's government has declared a state of emergency over the low rainfall on the island that's devastated crops and pastures. Sicily set a European heat record in 2021 when temperatures reached 119 degrees Fahrenheit. Some towns had to start water rationing. The average temperature in the Mediterranean area is now 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit higher than 150 years ago.
Lake Pergusa is an indicator of what Sicily is suffering due to climate change. We knew and we said it. This will be the first place in Sicily where we realize that something is happening, and that is what we see before our eyes.
The lake has long served as a vital resting station for migratory birds between Africa and Europe. Amato says now, hundreds of species will not be able to rest here. In the last 12 months, under 10 inches of rain fell on Sicily, according to climate specialist Luigi Passotti. He's worried about Sicily's future if the region remains dry.
We are now living in an emergency situation. The total drying up and a failure to replenish the water in the autumn would be truly catastrophic. We have to recognize that climate change is having an impact. It is beginning to cause irreversible damage.
No kidding. And the fact is that climate scientists were predicting that this lake would disappear if nothing was done to avert it, right? Because it just keeps getting hotter and hotter. So more and more of the lake is evaporating. For fuck's sake. All right. Let's see. Let's get the subs up too. Yeah, if we can do what we did with those likes, I mean, my God. That would really help out my daily sub goal, which is I'm technically very much under. I really, really want this channel to be 500 by the end of this month. Otherwise, it's going to become more and more problematic. A bunch of people forgot to like the stream until recently, or people stopped. What is ePreth? What does that mean? Is that a word? I don't know what that means. Well, this is our last environmental story of the evening to look at. This is from France 24 English. 2024 could be world's hottest year as June breaks records. No kidding. We've been saying it all year. Been saying it all goddamn year, France 24. Where have you been?
Fatal heat waves, relentless rain creating mass flooding, devastating wildfires, and earlier than ever, hurricanes. This past month of June marked 13 consecutive months of record-breaking heat across the globe. Worldwide, the Earth's air temperature was hotter over the past year than ever before, and by over 1.5 degrees Celsius. Another dire record, the water temperature of the world's oceans.
You heard that, right? Over 1.5, which is the supposed limit. And I think we need to stop using the word goal, because I keep hearing people say goal, like it's something we should be reaching for. No. It is the ceiling. As the very tippy top of what has been even deemed potentially acceptable to humanity, right? Anything above it is catastrophic, not to just humanity, but to the fucking planet, especially as it relates to human survival. Ugh. Just ridiculous.
They're also hitting record
This
highs
is where we are.
and have been consecutively for the past 15 months. Europe's climate watchdog Copernicus, which released and tracked the data, said the results are striking. Between scorching heat waves and extreme flooding in a swathe of countries, the effect on human life is palpable.
My worry is that these records will just be reported like they are part of the Olympics, but not that they actually mean that the human rights of a vast majority of the people living on this planet are massively violated, because these hot months mean hotter heat waves. It means much more heavy rainfall events with devastating floods as a consequence, which do violate the right to life.
One climate scientist said that based on the past 6 months of data, there's a 95% chance that 2024 will be the hottest year on record.
This is looking like more and more of an exponential curve, especially as of the last 20 or so years here. Not inspiring a lot of confidence or optimism right now.
Copernicus's data of a 1.5 degree increase does not mean that the Paris climate of 1.5 degrees has been breached. That's measured over multiple years. But it does mean that to keep the devastation to human life and to the planet in check, drastic cuts in fossil fuels must be sped up.
No kidding. Another point I think we make practically every day here. And I think Beyond practically, it's literally every day. Basically, humanity is circling the drain. Earth will bounce back, but we won't. That's my main problem with it, is the lack of humanity, right? I'm not at the point of just saying, throw in the towel on humanity. No. I think we should continue existing. I think that would be for the best. Granted, I'm a little biased as a human myself, but I don't think that clouds my judgment too much, or maybe slightly, but really though, the galactic stream wouldn't even exist without humanity. Which is why I think an Earth which supports humanity and a humanity which supports the Earth is the best solution that I can see. Or at least goal. That's not really a solution. Okay. Yep. Let's do this. Just gonna take another quick break here. Giving you all a chance to shake your legs out. Perhaps use the bathroom or grab yourself a drink and or snack. All important things humans need. Alright, chat. Well, don't forget to like and also subscribe, as both are incredibly important. If you haven't already, do consider strongly becoming a Galactic patron on Patreon. Not only can you add gifts and pics like people have done before you on streams, scenes such as this, you also get sweet Galactic shoutouts and much more. Alright, chat, I'll be right back. I am back. Ooh, welcome. Wicked peeps indeed. Thank you for the raid, Jake. Much appreciated. If you're not already, which I would find very strange that you weren't, but could be. If you're not already, go follow what you can do on YouTube's. On that YouTube's. And if you're new, we're trying to get to 500 subs, so if you haven't already, hit that like button and do consider subscribing. Really would help us out with this month-long subathon we've been doing. Alright, now I'm gonna move us on. What do we got next? I think we got global news next, that's right. That's right. Del Sol Verde is correct. It's free to subscribe, at least on YouTube. On Twitch, the only platform I'm monetized on aside from Patreon, you do have to actually pay to subscribe, but it's free to follow there as well. I don't know why people have to use different terminology for everything, totally throwing me off as usual. $71 likes. That's crazy. That's definitely a record number of likes for this stream. Alright, as usual, we're going to start off the global news with a little bit of space news. First, let's go to Turkey, where meteors flashed across the night sky. This is Guardian news from a day ago. Meteor dazzled spectators as it lit up night sky in North Turkey. Video shared on social media showed flashes of light in the sky. Okay, oh dang it. My stream software is what do you call it? The stream software is like is freezing still, and so I can't even give you your 7th support character, which you all deserve. I will roll for it, just in case I can't give it to you this stream. You'll get one in the bank. Oh, no, we already have 12. That's George Carlin. 18. 18. Who is 18? Well, whoever 18 is, you have a free 18 if you don't get it this stream. Sorry for the inconvenience, chat. Oh no, what did I do? What did I do? I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. That meteor was completely uninvolved with anything the Galactic News Network is engaged in, and I don't appreciate the suggestion. The audio is low? Is the audio low? Which audio? My audio or the the video audio? Because the video audio did seem a little low. Not gonna lie, I heard that too. You're convinced it can only be aliens. See, look what we've started. Okay, alright, now let's look at this. This is really just sort of a fluff piece here. As we usually, I think we kind of treat most of the space pieces around here, but let's do this. Global news from a day ago. Eventually, people will be living on Mars, quote unquote. directly from Chris Hadfield's mouth, who is an astronaut.
And our next guest knows isolation in space very well. He's a retired Colonel astronaut, Chris Hadfield. Colonel Hadfield, welcome.
Pleased to be talking with you, Anthony.
Well, what are the lessons that NASA and those behind a possible eventual mission to Mars can learn from this incredibly elaborate simulation?
Well, if you're going to go live in a new place, there's a bunch of different things to solve. And Mars is a pretty harsh place to live. And so part of the problem is technological. You know, how do you build the machines that can produce the air and keep everybody alive? How do you grow the food? What do you do if someone gets sick? You know, someone, whatever, has to have their appendix taken out. And then what do you do with the radiation and the weird environment? And how do you keep people psychologically healthy? And eventually, we're going to be having people live on Mars. And so at some point, you got to start addressing all those problems. And for, what was it, 378 days, people were inside a 3D printed habitat, testing all of those things all together. And those lessons learned kind of lay the foundation or the bedrock for how we're going to do it for when we get there.
For real when we get there. I think we should focus on solving Earth problems. Not gonna lie, even as a space-based being, I think that humanity should probably focus on Earth and making that livable before attempting to go to Mars. We've already talked on a number of occasions the different sorts of problems that humans will inevitably be faced with in the potential of a human habitat in space, not just on Mars, but anywhere in space. Things like increased radiation, among others, as well as like fetus and childhood growth. Like, if you add in like humans attempting to actually breed in space, things get even just crazy wild with how you know, how that goes, because humans were created in a certain gravitational and environment, right? You suddenly thrust evolution into space, things get weird real quick. Bad weird, if I'm not being clear. You'd be okay sending the billionaires to Mars. I'm also fine with that, as long as they leave all their resources behind. I say we use whatever available device to send them out there. Boeing comes to mind. Just thinking out loud, you know. They seem like they're doing a really great job lately. Can we send them to the sun instead? It's a thought. It's a thought. Although I feel like if we get Boeing to just build them a spacecraft, we can just kind of rely on that spacecraft being bad. And that should take care of most of the problems. Alright. What are you posting in the Discord? Oh yeah, by the way, if you're not in the GNN Discord, you should definitely get in there. I'll even post the link. Look at me, posting links. Alright. Now let's go on to actual earthly news. Starting in England. We've already been talking about this a ton, so we're just going to watch one quick story here. If you're not aware, Labour won a resounding victory in the UK. Not just in England, but in Scotland, Ireland, and Wales as well. Labour essentially has just a massive majority of seats in British Parliament right now. And Keir Starmer took no time in going to Scotland to say that Labour plans on delivering for Scotland, which should be very interesting to see. Scotland has decidedly not really been a fan of Labour or any really British led parties. Often, I think the party that had the most, I think it's what's it called? Shit, the SNP usually is pretty dominant in Scotland. But Labour actually took down, I think, a historic number of seats for them in this election. Let's look at this real quick.
Thank you, Anas, my friend. Without your leadership, we would not have achieved this here in Scotland. And I can't tell you how important it is to me to be here in Scotland with you 48 hours after the King invited me to form a government. Not long ago, we just had one.
I feel like the second he said King, this guy, like, held back a knee-jerk reaction to say something negative about it. I also felt that. I was like, the King, thanks, Keir, yeah. Because he's the one who provides you with the power to whatever, govern.
Ian, and now look, we have a team of 37. And I campaigned, and in that campaign I said, I want Scotland to send a government to start delivering for Scotland. And we have this team to be part of a government, sitting on the government benches, all working to deliver for Scotland. This team here, the whole of the Labour Party in government, and myself delivering for Scotland.
Every time you hear Starmer speak, it sounds like someone doing a goofy character. He is something of a goofy character. Sort of a posh idiot. Yeah, the election really kind of had a very resounding tone from beginning to end in England, with the beginning being dozens of Conservative MPs just quitting the second that Rishi Sunak asked for them to run in this snap election. Snap election which he called for literally in the rain, foreshadowing pretty much the rest of it, at least as it went for the Tories, at least. Alright, now, we've talked enough about Britain and their silly elections recently, which seem to have gone perfectly fine to some degree. I would have liked to seen Green get more seats, as they got nearly 10% of the vote or something like that, and only got 1% of the seats, which seems wrong. Flashes of electoral democracy in the United States. I believe it's called first to the post, or whatever it is. First post passed. Something like that. It's a similarly nonsense Western system of non-democracy, technically. Alright. Now to get us talking about France, let's look at this. Notre Dame de Paris Cathedral closer to reopening after the 2019 fire. So yeah, if you're not aware, the Notre Dame Cathedral burnt, not quite to the ground, but really, really got burnt. Bad. It was in the news for weeks, I feel like, after that happened. And for the last 4 or so years, they have been working to restore it.
After 5 years of restoration, the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris is 90% complete. The refurbishment of the 800-year-old cathedral included new stone, freshly laid tiles, and revamped paintwork. Well, the roof and spire, which crashed to the ground in the 2019 fire, are now almost finished. 2,000 workers, from carpenters to stonemasons, are working hard to meet a December deadline to complete the work.
Okay. Whoops. Whatever. Let's go straight to this. Let's Let's watch some reactions from different sides in the French election here today. If you haven't heard, I'll hold off for a second and explain what this is a reaction to. We had been talking about the French election now for at least a few weeks, ever since Emmanuel Macron had, just like Rishi Sunak, elected to call for a snap election in his government. And last weekend, we had been concerned, to put it lightly, as the National Rally, France's far-right party, had taken a serious lead in the first round of voting, leading not just myself, but many of the mainstream analysts to have serious sort of misgivings about the direction of all of this. However, that's changed, and oh my god, why did this just change back to the news desk? Go back. Whatever, I'll finish talking here. But as of this weekend, in the second round of voting, France decidedly said no to both Marine Le Pen as well as her National Rally party, in which the new alliance, the National People's Front, the Popular People's Front, I forget. It's something like that. It's a leftist coalition that banded together to essentially not just challenge the far right, but also challenge Emmanuel Macron's very sort of centrist neoliberal style of government, and in fact took a majority of expected seats in France's lower house, and that's the part of the government which had the snap election called. So they in fact beat Emmanuel Macron's Renaissance Party, which means that even though Emmanuel Macron will be president still, he will now have to work with either the far right, which he just got done talking about how they were a literal existential threat to France, or the left. It should be interesting to see how that goes. But let's at least look at some of the reactions from French people. And notice there's something of a dichotomy between the reactions. I can't read lips, especially as it comes to French, but this lady in the white suit jacket appears to be cursing a great deal. Maybe not. She just seems upset. Everybody in this picture seems sort of generally, real sag. I really was not expecting it. Right now, it's really a moment of pure emotion. And it really gives us hope again. Since I was really down emotionally. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it makes us believe more. Voila. The night is just about that. It's full of hope.
Mais on continuera, quoi qu'il arrive. Aller jusqu'au bout de nos idées. Qui ne sont pas des racistes, comme certains peuvent le dire. Les médias l'ont dit. Les réseaux sociaux ou un truc comme ça, ils ont essayé de nous diaboliser. Mais c'est les Français honnêtes qui veulent se rassembler dans l'institutionnel.
Not the racists. Oh.
Jesus ain't say that.
That's what you say when it's actually racist. Yeah, no, that's the script. No, it's the media who keeps just calling us racist. We're not racists. We're real French people. That's all. We're just telling the hard truth. Okay. Where next? One more sort of quick look at France. At least
the far right has come third in France's elections as the left-wing coalition surprised pollsters to win the most seats in the French parliament. Marine Le Pen's National Rally had been expected to become the largest party, but a hastily assembled pact between the centre and left groupings ensured her hard right party was pushed into third place.
Why?
President Macron, who
this picture, I feel like one of us needs to turn this picture into a meme.
Ensured her hard right party.
Oh my God. This is the definition of wild-eyed. Okay, this woman is ready to lead the new French Revolution right now, herself. She doesn't care who's behind her at this point. She looks so sad. Her daddy must, like, literally own Louboutin or something like that. Like, who gets this upset about this? Oh my God. Oh no. My exclusively white anti-immigrant party lost. It's so sad.
He was pushed into third
She's
place.
getting the guillotine.
President Macron, whose centrist bloc came second, has asked his prime minister.
She's prepping the guillotine as we speak. Oh God. If I didn't think it would get me copyright struck right now, I'd break into a Les Miserables sort of, you know. But no, I will resist the temptation. Let's go on to this last story about France, as CBS is going to attempt to discuss what I was just discussing. Let's see what they have to say about France's new governing breakdown, if you will.
And lawmakers here in Washington are used to political gridlock, but now a similar kind of paralysis could be on the horizon for a major ally across the Atlantic, France. A left-wing alliance beat back a far-right surge, winning the most seats in snap legislative elections yesterday. President Emmanuel Macron's centrist coalition came in second, but no party came close to reaching a majority in the National Assembly. Elaine Cobb joins us now from Paris on what we can expect next. Elaine, good to see you. So how much concern is there for political paralysis in the country because of these results?
Caitlin, because no one party or alliance managed to form the absolute majority needed to form a government, we are looking at some kind of coalition. And there is real concern about the state of the country afterwards. Some say France might be ungovernable because some of
Listen to CBS concern trolling over the left winning the majority of the votes cast. Like, it's ungovernable. How can we have multiple opinions? How can we allow for the centrist government to suddenly consider the people or the environment? That's too crazy. That's too much, man. Oh my God. Wow. The CBS is always prepared to concern troll and pearl clutch at any possible moment. They have like a switch somewhere that just puts everybody on high alert. Everybody get your pearls ready. You have a clutching event level 3.
potential coalitions are among parties who came together during these elections purely to block the far right and the far left, and so they don't all have the same ideologies, they don't have the same aims, they don't have the same policies. So there's a lot of concern about exactly how this can work. And of course, we're going to see a lot of alliances being built and broken this week as they come together and try to work out who can govern France.
Perhaps a coalition, like you said earlier. Like, I don't know, Emmanuel Macron might have to make a couple of reasonable what are they called? Starts with a C. Concessions. Compromises, even. My God. How horrible would that be? I'm sure all those French people out in the streets would hate that. Just kidding. Alright, let's go on. Oh, this is a disturbing story. Okay. Over the last 24 hours, Russia decided to amp up its attacks on Ukraine. They decided that attacking a children's hospital was not out of the question. And after this attack, according to the most recent figures I have, at least 150 people were injured, and something like, I think, 24 people were killed.
Illegal.
So we'll start with this AP footage. Did she say something about the Olympics? I didn't even hear that. I feel like I just kind of let that go by me because it was so inconsequential that my brain didn't pick it up. If she was in fact saying something like, "Oh no, what will we do about the Olympics? How could France possibly host the Olympics with a divided government? Impossible. Ridiculous." No, I honestly didn't hear that comment at all, so I don't know if that's what she was saying or not, but that's a ridiculous claim, if so. Alright, I'm just gonna move on. I have like multiple stories on this. This is CBS. Yeah.
Some breaking news this morning. Russia launched a barrage of missiles in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv and other cities in what is described as a rare daytime attack. At least 20 people were killed, and Kyiv's main children's hospital was damaged. President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian forces fired more than 40 missiles. Abdul Rasulov, with our partners at BBC News, has more from Kyiv.
The skyline behind me was covered with plumes of smoke, and Russia used at least 40 missiles to target cities across Ukraine, including the capital, Kyiv, as well. And we still don't know how many of those missiles managed to hit their targets. We could hear loud explosions here in Kyiv, and it appears that the Ukrainian air defense systems were engaged and tried to shoot down those missiles. But some of those missiles tried to change their trajectory as they were trying to hit the targets and mislead and avoid the Ukrainian air defense systems. And some of those missiles did manage to get through and hit their targets, including the children's hospital in Kyiv. The video posted on social media shows...
The thing about this story that I feel like I shouldn't have to be, like, thinking at all, but am literally being forced to think about by people such as CBS, is I wonder, is like I'm actively wondering as I'm watching this footage what it is CBS would be saying right now if this was a children's hospital in Gaza, right? Like it's a narrative I shouldn't have to think about, but in fact do, and like knee jerk, like it just automatically comes to me, like because of just how much CBS footage I watch. But, like, how would CBS be framing this if it was in Gaza? Like, and it's a question I feel like we can't not ask ourselves. I mean, like, we can't ignore this story. It's why we're looking at it. It's fucking disgusting, right? Attacking a children's hospital across the board is just fucking wrong. Doesn't matter what country it's in, right? It's a crime against fucking humanity. But it just frustrates me to no end, the sort of blatant sort of one-sidedness we've been getting from CBS in so much of this coverage we've been looking at recently. And yeah, I don't know why. See, I don't even know. The only reason I'm talking about it is because of CBS. I blame them. All right, let's continue talking about this because I'm not done. Because let's go to this one. This is yeah, Channel 4. Channel 4 from 7 hours ago.
Шевченківський район, Сирець, ми бачимо ще одне влучання. Житловий будинок десь приблизно 17 квартир зруйновано. Рятувальники зараз працюють. Ми чуємо голоси. Люди знаходяться під завалами. Робимо максимально, щоб швидко врятувати цих людей. Тобто роботи йдуть. І в цьому районі міста Києва знаємо, що і в інших районах міста Києва така сама ситуація.
Situation.
Робимо все для того, щоб максимально надати допомогу.
For fuck's sake.
Illegal.
Well, frustrating situation just continues to get more and more frustrating in Ukraine. The fact is nearly 10 years ago, I was frustrated at the mainstream news about their coverage of Ukraine, but in the opposite way, they practically ignored the first invasion of the Crimea. I think perhaps to the detriment of the world. Certainly to Ukrainians. All right, let's go on. South. Gotta go south. We already been talking about this a couple of different times over the last few months. Can't remember when it was initially that the military government in Niger formally told the United States that they wanted their troops out. I know it was like sometime around, I want to say like March or April. I could be wrong on that. But it was in the spring. Let's say that. Now, this is from 14 hours ago from Reuters, where U.S. troops are now withdrawing from another air base in the junta-led government of Niger.
The US military said on Sunday it had completed its withdrawal from a major airbase in Niger. Airbase 101, located near the airport in the capital Niamey, had been used to tackle militant groups in the Sahel region. But in April, and following a coup last year, Niger's ruling junta ordered the US to withdraw its nearly 1,000 military personnel from the country. US Air Force Major General Kenneth Ekman said the focus would now shift to leaving Air Base 201, a $100 million drone facility near the desert city of Agadez.
Both United States and Nigerian officials are dedicated to completing a safe, orderly, and responsible withdrawal by September 15th, 2024. They emphasize their commitment to the protection and security of American forces during this process.
Niger and its military-led neighbors, Burkina Faso and Mali.
Now, I'm not here to say that the United States leaving, I feel like I'm saying it wrong, but it might just be because I'm pronouncing it maybe in an Americanized way, and this dude's pronouncing it in a more British-centric kind of way. But in Niger, I don't have a problem with the United States troops leaving at all. It's just the reasons for them leaving that I have a lot of reservations about. You know, being that it's not just like a democratically elected government asking them to leave. It's that a coup happened, which was backed by Russia, and now that military coup is saying to leave, which usually I'm not a huge fan of military coups in pretty much any circumstances, so you know the downstream effects of these sorts of things I have questions about as I think I probably rightly do. You immediately thought World Kitchen? Good God. I really wish that they would take the same amount of seriousness with all the other stories that have been happening in Gaza as they did with World Food Kitchen. That would have been nice. Or World Central. I forget. Is it WCK? Whatever that organization's name is. I wish they'd given 50% even of the seriousness of that. That they had given that to the rest of the horrific stories that were readily available for them to cover in Gaza. But no. Too hard to weed that narrative. Just human suffering. Funded by the United States. And friends. US and friends. What do we got left? Oh, alright. Let's go. Let's go to the Middle East here. Masoud Pezeshkian, if you're not familiar, is the new president of Iran. He is a reformist, which to many is shocking, considering that Iran's government has been pretty conservative for quite some time. Let's look at this from CBS News. What does the election of Masoud Pezeshkian mean for the future of Iran? Alright. You try and tell us, CBS. We're listening.
Iran has a new president. Reformist candidate Masoud Pezeshkian won 54% in a second round of voting. His hardline conservative opponent received only 44%. Initially, there was no major candidate in the first round, which saw the lowest voter turnout in a presidential election since the Islamic Republic was formed in 1979. The election was nearly 2 months after Iran's former president, Ibrahim Raisi, was killed along with his foreign minister and several others in a helicopter crash. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer has more on the election. Elizabeth?
Masoud Pezeshkian went into this election as the long shot.
In a system dominated by hardliners, many Iranians were surprised that he was allowed to run at all. He beat his conservative opponent on Friday by a comfortable margin, and so he will become Iran's next president. He's a moderate, and at 69, the oldest man ever to hold the post. Pezeshkian is no stranger to the rough and tumble of Iranian politics. He's been a member of parliament. He was, for a few years, the health minister.
I don't know, he seems pretty youthful for a 69-year-old guy. Seems to take care of himself, at least.
In one of the country's most liberal governments back in the early 2000s. He's also a heart surgeon and single dad who brought up 3 children after his wife and youngest son were killed several decades ago in a car crash. During his campaign, Pezeshkian promised to relax the strict enforcement of rules on women's headscarves, the kinds of websites that young Iranians are able.
Low voter turnout. Who would have thought?
I don't want reality.
Absolutely. And I mean, Iran has been plagued with low voter turnouts for, I think, decades, technically. And, you know, it doesn't help that Britain and the United States led a coup against this country. What was it, in the 50s? I want to say 60s, something like that. In order to make sure, who was it? Was it BP? I want to say it was BP. I could be wrong, but it was some sort of British oil producer back in that day. And since then, things have been kind of fucked. I'm not saying all of this is necessarily our fault, but certainly a large portion of it is. And the thing is a lot of people their non-votes they were declared as essentially a boycott of the system itself, right? You know, and because there's absolutely, you know, secular society in Iran who don't approve of either the like the way that the government is set up, as it is technically what do you call it, a Shiite theocracy at the top, completely unelected theocratic rulers, and yeah, so that doesn't help anything. But after the first vote showed that the like the hardliner might win in this election, more people came out and voted, but it still was, I think, like only 50% of the entire electorate that came out and voted, which is not good. I mean, the U.S. has some problems with voter turnout, but it's not that bad. Although it's getting close to. I feel like, hold on, I feel like I gotta look it up now. It's only 66% in the United States in 2020. Oh, that includes 2018 though. Oh, that's including midterms. I think it was higher. No, it was like 67%. Yeah, it was only 67%. Oh my god. Yeah, it's not great. It's not exactly a ringing endorsement of our own democracy. But hey, at least we're doing better than Iran. Said nobody ever. All right. Let's quickly look at this in India. Actually, this isn't in India. Why is this here? This is in Russia. Oh, I see. That actually kind of makes sense. All right. You may or may not have heard of this yet, but yesterday, Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, went to Russia to visit with Vladimir Putin. And Putin gave him the star-studded tour. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Moscow for a 2-day visit on Monday. This marks Modi's first visit to Russia since its invasion of Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin hosted Modi for informal face-to-face talks at his residence in Novo-Ogaryovo near Moscow on Monday. Honorable Prime Minister, good day to see you once again. Our official talks will start tomorrow, but today is this... I just realized I'm like shouting over this right now, which is usually when I need to turn the volume down. Go back. Honorable Prime Minister, good day to you once again. Our official talks will start tomorrow, but today, in this homely abundance, we can calmly discuss probably the same questions, but unofficially. It's a great pleasure to visit a friend at this home. I thank you for inviting me to your house and for creating such a program. For me, and for your kind words, I appreciate this. Looks like quite the spread. This is his house? This is ridiculous. This is a compound. Members of the Indian community and Moscow residents celebrated Modi's visit in the street. It's nice when fascists can get together and sort of glad hand one another. Super fun for everybody.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Please clap. I don't know when that's from. I assume it was well-timed. Shakespeare rating with a party of 3 viewers. Thank you. Thank you, Shakespeare. Rating on Twitch was low, very low on viewers. I think you just doubled my Twitch viewers just now. At least nearly. Much appreciated. If you're not already, subscribe to Shakespeare or follow on the Twitch. Shakespeare is a historian. If you like history, get on in there. Okay, let's quickly look at this story in South Korea, as South Korean company Samsung has seen its union kick off a new strike over worker pay. Hold on, let me make the volume reasonable. Go.
Samsung workers began a 3-day strike for better pay in South Korea on Monday. The National Samsung Electronics Union said about 3,000 workers attended a rally near company headquarters south of the capital, Seoul. It further said Samsung's production operations could be affected and disputed media reports of low turnout. Union President Sonwoo Mok.
특히 저희가 이번 파업의 가장 중요
What we think is the most important for this strike is to disrupt production.
위해서이기 때문에 그 생산 차질은
So we've been mainly encouraging those working on the production line to strike so that they can directly impact it.
라인에 계신 분들 위주로 그 파업 참여를 많이 독려를 했고요.
The union has demanded increased pay and leave and equality in the company's bonus system. Samsung has proposed flexibility in pay and leave conditions but hasn't yet met union demands. The tech giant said there was no disruption in production Monday. Analysts...
Well, how good for everybody. No production was disrupted. Oh, people need those phones and things. Good God. Reuters focused on the important stuff. I'm sure they didn't go around the union to get scab workers. By the way, Shakespeare, what was your stream about today? I'm sure it was something of great interest. Sorry I missed it. Switch. There we go. Good switch. Ooh, I like that emote. That's fun. Haven't seen that one. That's a very fancy flag. Okay, now it's time to talk about Israel. That's right, you've made it this far, and it's that time. Start with this Associated Press from a day ago. We already looked at CBS as well as was it ABC and CNN? I forget. It was one of those three, two of those three idiots I just mentioned. Now let's look at Associated Press, who also tagged along for the ride into Rafah, which we saw yesterday. Yes. Israel invites reporters into Rafah for first visit by international media since city was invaded. Also, the first invitation of any international media into Gaza at all, seemingly, over the last 9 months. And of course, it was heavily chaperoned by the IDF. Let's see how that went.
Hamas, it has been building all those tunnels. Some of those tunnels are booby trapped. And Hamas.
Now, I just want to point something out to all of you. Because this guy is, I think, an admiral? We see him constantly in all of these videos. This is the exact opposite of gun safety. Okay? Now, no, you're thinking to me, StreamLord, this is a goddamn... It is a military zone. Of course he has his gun out. Yeah, okay. You see this guy next to him? He's not holding a gun. The gun is at his side. This guy is holding the gun with his finger very close, very, very close to the trigger, pointed directly at this guy holding a fucking microphone. Okay? I'm no gun expert, but, you know, I alluded to it at one point. I did live in the country at one point when I was growing up as a child. I have shot a gun. You're not supposed to point it at people. That's a given. Especially people you don't want to shoot. And he spends the whole interview this way.
Everything.
Just kind of nonchalantly pointing it at this poor reporter who I think is having like an internal meltdown right now, having a gun just pointed directly at him.
Neighborhood, among houses, among mosques, among the population, in order to create its terror ecosystem. This is part of the
Israel's terror ecosystem sort of supersedes Hamas's ecosystem. I'd point that out.
Rafah Brigade military framework. Rafah Brigade military framework.
Who said that? Oh, wireless Mike actually got there before me. They're threatened by information and free speech. Yeah, that was going to be my point. Is I think that he just feels threatened by journalists in general covering this, and so I think this is just some sort of like a implicit threat, like do the right thing, media, or else this. So yeah, I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it. Israel threatening journalists live on camera. Just more proof. They don't want the truth coming out. Okay, let's go to this. I'm sorry, what are you saying? Did I? Oh no, I didn't hydrate. You're right. I saw the clapping happened right after the hydrating, and I totally forgot. Oh, there we go. Must respect the channel points redemptions. You people earn these points for watching the stream, and how could I possibly not honor these? It's just wildly inappropriate. It's basically negligent on my part, and I appreciate whomever it was that just told me to remember that. I did, in fact, hydrate now. Nobody redeemed third place yet. Oh god. Technically, anybody can redeem third, even if you've gotten first or second. I mean, I discourage it, but, you know, there are 9 viewers right now. Anybody could get third. Have their achievement emblazoned on the stream itself. Okay, what's next? Oh, this travesty. Good. Good. One travesty to the next. Channel 4 news from a day ago. Israeli airstrike on UN-run Gaza school for children, in case you didn't know how schools work, kills at least 16 people.
Marking 9 months since the October the 7th attacks, across Israel, what protest leaders are calling a national day of disruption. Thousands demanding the government do a deal with Hamas, end the war, and bring Israeli hostages home from Gaza.
The government is doing everything they can, not...
Donald James with the third. Well done. Well done. Got in there before anybody else.
Get them out. The soldiers, the army, all of the heads of security have said that we do not need to be in Gaza anymore. It's time to move on.
There is a possibility, a real possibility, to bring back home 120 civilians, 120 lives to Israel right now with Hamas. Although it's a terror organization, it's possible right now.
That sense of possibility fueled by a reported shift in Hamas's negotiating position, no longer demanding Israel rules out a resumption in fighting ahead of a ceasefire, instead seeking a written commitment from mediators that post-truce talks would go on until a permanent end to the fighting is agreed. Israel's Prime Minister, though, suggesting gaps remain between the two sides, his intelligence chief reportedly rejecting Hamas's latest demand in talks in Qatar on Friday. Polls suggest at least 2/3 of Israelis now want a ceasefire deal, more than half blaming the lack of one on a prime minister.
Damn, those numbers have really gone up there. 2/3 want the ceasefire? That's a lot. That number was way down at the beginning. And we had not heard any statements like what we heard that woman say at the beginning of this video, saying that Israel doesn't even need to be in Gaza at all. I mean, that's a huge shift in public perception, at least as it relates to Israeli public, of this whole fucking military campaign of Israel's.
Trying to placate far-right coalition partners. Blood on his hands, they say. In Gaza, the blood is still fresh, still real. Noor has just seen her friend Malak killed in an Israeli airstrike on a UN school in the Nusayrat refugee camp. Waves of grief subsume the classroom where they'd been sheltering, Malak's brother overwhelmed.
Sorry, I should be translating. We were happy. I promise we were. Now the happiness is gone. She was martyred in front of my eyes.
Israel's military said it struck what it called Hamas terrorists operating in structures in the area of the school. Thousands of displaced civilians had been sheltering here. Gaza's health ministry said at least 16 people were killed.
It is real difficult to look at these stories day in and day out, having to see civilians being slaughtered indiscriminately. It's very frustrating. And I think that's the very lightest way I can put it. Wow, the emoji game on Twitch is on fire right now. People are going deep on the Twitch emotes. By the way, I think that we just got hit by a scheduled ad break on Twitch, so very sorry for those of you who have either not chosen to subscribe on Twitch with American dollars, your free Twitch Prime sub that you get with your Amazon Prime, or been gifted a subscription by one of our many generous viewers. You're most likely just subjected to capitalist advertisement directly from Jeffy Bezos himself.
Follow the rich white man.
Okay, what else we have? Oh god. Wow, and we're... Oh my god, oh my god. Well, Megastar just gave out a tier 1 sub to the community. Thank you. Thank you, Megastar. It's incredibly generous of you. What was I saying? I was saying a thing. Got distracted by the generosity. Words. I had words. I was leading up to something. Oh, man. I was saying things. This is what happens. Oh, that's what I was saying. 184 subs. Let's go. Let's go. Up 2 from earlier today. This is good. This is good. This is all good. These kind of things we need to keep happening for the Galactic News Network to continue to exist in this dimension. Ah, yes. Penultimate video, chat. That's right. 3 hours and 45 minutes in. We're at that point. Well done to all of you for having made it this far. Well, let's go to global news. This is from a day ago. Protests in Israel demanding immediate release of hostages. Figured we'd look at some more of this footage, considering it does feel like the vibe is changing.
In Israel, protesters marked 9 months since the Hamas attack on Israel. They blocked major highways across the country, demanding a ceasefire in Gaza and return of Israeli hostages abducted by Hamas. The protesters also called on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to step down. Sunday's day of disruption started at 6:20 a.m. local time, corresponding to the time Hamas launched its attack on October 7th.
I'm here to support families of kidnapped Israelis in Gaza. I'm here to oppose my government and to bring this war to an end, hopefully, to bring elections and to bring this criminal government down as soon as possible.
I'm here to demand the government to agree to a deal to release the hostages now, stop the war, and go to elections, which is what 70% of the people of Israel are asking for and demanding for months right now.
Now, as we know, some of this is, in fact, much of this is causing Benjamin Netanyahu a great deal of internal conflict, as we all probably know here, but perhaps not. His essentially his only last claim to power right now is the continuation of the military involvements, whether it's the genocide happening in Gaza or the military attacking Lebanon. You know, these are the things that are basically keeping him in power, and that's it. Everybody wants him out. And it's basically his only excuse to continue to not to call a snap election, as so many people are asking for him to resign at this point. It's pretty insane, actually. Seeing any amount of Israeli flags always looks racist. Well, that has a certain amount of validity to it that I'm not going to attempt to unpack right now, but I do hear what you're saying. Alright, let's go on to this, our final story of the night from Channel 4 News from 8 hours ago. Israeli troops push deeper into Gaza City, with dozens reportedly killed in strikes.
Holding a baby, he races towards the hospital. Just one of the victims of a renewed Israeli assault on Gaza City. Inside, there are children everywhere you look. Everywhere, screams of pain. Saha is desperately calling relatives, trying to track down her missing daughter. Her other 2 young children are injured but alive.
We were at our home and suddenly they bombed nearby. Then they hit our building. We ran out into the street, but another house was bombed too. They attacked a mosque. After that, I fell unconscious.
It's a nightmarish scene, one that's hard to watch. More and more injured children are carried in. Outside the hospital, a mother cradles the body of her dead 1-year-old son. He was born after 14 years of trying for a child, she cries. I went out to buy him milk and they killed him. Where shall we bury him, her brother asks. The whole of Gaza has become a graveyard. Since this was filmed for us yesterday, the hospital has been ordered to evacuate all its patients. The streets of Gaza City,
which is a fucking crime. Telling the hospitals to evacuate so you can destroy them is not acceptable, right? I think there's no legitimate reasons for this. Israel keeps claiming it's because of tunnel networks, and yet we don't get to see the tunnels at the time that they do these things. And they hand out, like, you know, highly edited footage of tunnels to media organizations and things like that, but never do we get to actually see the tunnels that are supposedly under the hospitals that they keep talking about, which leads me to believe that while there is in fact no good reason for it, that there's definitely no bad reasons for it either. It's just malicious. That's all it is, right? It's just intended to create human suffering, forcing people that are literally under operations. Like, imagine this happening to you, right? You get, I don't know, into a terrible car accident and have one of your legs broken, right? And it's bad enough that doctors have to operate. You get put on anesthesia. You're on a table. You're being operated on by doctors in a supposed to be sterile environment. However, sterile environments in Gaza right now are pretty much non-existent due to the complete destruction of the infrastructure. Now, just continue to imagine that you're living here in the Western world where you do in fact have sterile rooms, and suddenly all of you have to evacuate, right? In the middle of that. It's going to be bad, right? But there's probably another working hospital nearby. However, in this situation, as it relates to Gaza, no, there's nowhere good to go, right? It's just to take people, sick people, dying people, injured people, just out into the street, into the sun, into, literally, just destruction all around them. No power or anywhere to hook up. I mean, it's just, this is like just an example of, we've heard this has happened multiple times, but it's just becoming more and more egregious in my mind. Each time I have to report things like this to people, right? Like, it just compounds in my head. Well, chat, we have made it through another stream. It's a pleasure having all you folks here with me. Some say the Galactic News Network wouldn't exist without its space fans. It's a long, long night. That's it for me. Till I see you next. You stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. Can't forget this. These are your Galactic patrons. Gabby, Goth Dogs, Aaron W, Mitty, Afroponics, Teeny, Robot Cat, Morbius Dragon, The Anti-Corporatist, Owenowip, Nadia, Mrs. Jen, Omega Star, Pitchforks Dragon, Brenson Morales, and Donald James X. I got them all out. This list is getting longer, though. You too can be a part of this fantastic list of people who all have decided the Galactic News Network must continue. Go ahead, click that link in chat. I dare you. Most galactic possible experience there. I was going to put the prompt in chat, but there's already a half dozen ones, so that's just gonna automatically trigger the late night after hours Galactic chill stream. It feels like it's not super secret anymore. I have been trying to change the category every time I do this on Twitch to music so that maybe get some other people up in here. Since Twitch is still the only monetized live streaming platform that I got, still gotta feed the algorithm over there too. Am I feeling better? Yes. About 90% better. Thank you for asking, PCAT. I have been forced to take a bunch of Tylenol over the last 48 hours since I first started kind of feeling shitty. I would say, what day did I first start feeling bad? I think it was either Friday night or Saturday morning, where I was just like, dude, I feel like shit. One thing that hasn't completely subsided is the headache that I had. But basically, last night, I essentially tortured myself into feeling better. I took 3